Steroids was the better choice to drop down and grab those eliminations if needed.
They're like, hey, we're up here. I'm up here. I'm ready for heal off. No one look. No one look. Let's take a look at our standings, though. Where does this game leave us? Remember, coming in, things looked very close, very dire in some situations. But now, take a look. Poyo, Sphinx, they jump up 2 placements. And now, the likes of Duke, Edgy, Acorn, and Cold, finally, they are contested.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Polo and Sphinx taking full advantage of the fact that Duke and Edgy and Acorn and Hold did not have a good game number 7, but I'm looking towards that top 5. It looks like the gap now between first and top 5 is that of 25 points. So we are setting up some storylines here for day number 2, but again, this duo just taking full advantage of the fact that some of our top competitors were not in this late game.
And I love the story between this duo. I've been calling them an NA West duo, but they're actually one of the teams that's a bit of an hybrid. NA represented through, or NA West through Polo, and then Sphinx representing NA East. And clearly the synergy is working out for them real well. Watching them play, so smart. Didn't get the victory royale, but hey, in first place, who needs it?
Hey, those elimination points, they are playing a big factor. Remember, 4 points per elimination. And when you pair that up with placements, you will go far. Now we have to talk about Baka and Pars in that 4th place spot currently on the standings. Also have a very good game. And take note, they have not moved in their placement, right? So they're still locking up 4th.
They didn't move, neither did 5th, 6th, or 7th, right? So everybody kind of holding on as these games kind of find their way through. But this duo obviously using those kinetic blades and the drop down there, keeping their run alive, finding that refresh on the Macwood, giving them those siphon refresh materials. Look at this. He just carried it further and further. Got some more placement points. And then that shot right there from Rise, I like blinked and was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What just happened? Unfortunate on the receiving end of that. Shout out to Rise for that shot. But yeah, good stuff out of this duo.
The kinetic blade plays that we see towards the end game there where they shoot up to get vision is such a high risk, high reward play.
It is.
Obviously, you're able to get a vision of everyone down below you, but we know that there's a possibility that a pulse rifle could be in the hands of the high ground team, and we've seen what players can do with that pulse rifle, specifically with the players using the kinetic blade.
A duo that has kind of taken a step back and said, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's do a little bit of VOD review. Booga and Threats, currently in that 6th place. Once again, not moving. They are really looking to amp it up here in day number 2, especially when we hold them in like such high standings, right?
You know, we had a moment during this game, right? And we respect Booga so much because he has been to, you know, every tournament under the sun, basically. And there was a moment during this game where they were, of course, getting lobby sprayed right there. And what he did was he told Threats, he was like, hey, listen, you start holding the wall. And what he did while Threats was holding the wall, he dropped his materials to Threats because Threats had just 30 more HP to him, knew that Booga was going to go down eventually, basically just put it in the hands of Threats. The trust to actually be able, you know, put that into your duo's hands, the experience to make that call. Shout out to Booga for that little bit of a, you know, that little bit of an edge over the rest of the competition.
And we've seen a lot of players that when it does come down to a solo clutch or they're lacking in materials or in ammo, just like what we saw with Threats there, that they tend to stick to the mid ground. And he did that really well. Typically, you see a lot of aggression going on the low ground, and then, of course, the high ground are just snipers taking everyone out. So by staying in the mid ground, you're able to kind of be a little bit more protected, but also be aware of what's going on to the players down below.
Yeah, I love it. Now, I want to check in with the top 20. We know 340 points is the duo in first place.
Yep.
But let's kind of roll on over. Where are we at? What does that top 20 look like? Death and Tahi currently in that 20th place, rather, with 168 points. But just start to look at the names on this second page, right? 12th place, NPen, Polarized. They got themselves a victory royale, but even that isn't quite enough to put them in that top 10, right? And then as we go down this list, Vivid, Degen, Mud, Jamper, Casker, Clarity, Trashy, Pump Visuals, Agers, Kanata. What is happening here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually looking at this top 20, and I'm looking, you know, some of these points, right? 17th being 200 points. That's 140 points behind. Realistically, I mean, anything can happen as we go throughout the day, especially if we take into consideration what we just saw in game number 7. A lot of the top teams not performing. That just opens up the floodgates for all of these bubble teams to actually catch up.
And you're asking what happened. Well, Zeke, we added an entire new region together. It's no longer just NA East top teams competing. Now we have the NA West top teams competing too. And that is definitely going to be shaking up the lobby, not just with how the top teams are taking other teams down, but also drop spots.
Yeah, I love that. I love kind of using that as kind of the the measure, right? We have to remember there's still teams trying to adapt. They're still trying to figure each other out while also aim for these top 3 spots, Vivid.
Yeah, and let's talk about adapting, right? NPen and Polarized finding a very good game number 7, landing south side of the map. If they have figured something out that they can consistently replicate as, you know, the day goes on, they could be running towards that top.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of these top teams that are able to get high ground are also the teams that are prioritizing the weapons cache. Anything that can possibly grab those slurp juices. Obviously, heal-offs aren't as likely in the grand finals, but they are still a potential. So being able to cover all of your bases like a lot of these top teams are doing is going to be working out for them.
I love the breakdown. There's so much happening here in North America, but these guys have got us covered. Now, of course, I know what you want. It's more action, more games. The players are ready. We're ready. We hope you are as well. This is game number 8 of the FNCS.
There it is. We are now another big step closer to solidifying a new FNCS Grand Finals champion of North America. We have just seen a ridiculous finish, by the way, by NPen and crew. NPen is someone we've interviewed over the years. We've gotten to learn so much about him. Jacob, talk to me about this duo. What makes him special?
It's just one of those teams that just loves to get aggressive. They love to fight. That's why when you look at their Kenjutsu Crossing, them being uncontested, puts a little bit of worry in some of these players' minds, but that's why you also see them flying around the map, trying to go ahead and fight people for Surge.
And the difference here now is that they are stepping up when it matters most, edging their way to that top 3, but we heard the battle bus. I'm ready to go ahead and strap on in and see what this is going to be all about, because right now we already know that the early game is going to continue to be explosive. It's going to be fireworks on the landscape, and we already know that anything can happen. The back and forth, the adjustments, the changes that have to be made. Let's watch it play out here. Tahi and Def touchdown first. One of the few teams that get, like we just talked about, access to such major vault access, and still they're inside that top 20. What can they do to solidify themselves further? But here, we have ourselves a fight.
Yep, Yamzone Rise, one of the contenders here in the lobby. If they could manage to make it off spawn majority of these games, they did it in game number 7 on the day, and they're going to do it here again. And all it took them was a couple of seconds.
Rise and Yamzo, big 2-piece elimination out the gate there. They'll go ahead and tuck that one in the bag and take it home to go for Chubbs and Bryce. They also have seemingly got into a little bit of a potential scuffle here for the job. No, actually, the opponents that were there backed off for the second game now. Okay, so we can conclude the story here that Bryce and Chubbs might have actually done enough in day 1 to fend off and earn the respect of the opponents that was challenging them. For Zypher and On1, the story's not the same. They actually got taken out last game.
Yep, trying to get a little bit of revenge here in this game against Landjock and Zukis, who finally showed some life here on the day. You have to be careful, because the longer a fight like this takes, there's a team right towards the south that might be looking over, trying to get some free Surge tags. Then you also know Pam's doing Fatch, land over towards Frenzy Farm, so it's not something that you want to have prolonged here. And staying in the house might be the play if it is going to take some time. Zypha sneaking around the corner, gets piece control towards the other side, and a huge beam from the compact SMG, but it's going to leave Zukis with just a sliver of health. You don't want to give anybody any hope to try to fight back.
Notice the respect there as well, playing extremely passive, although they do have the advantage here. And this is the caliber and respect these professional players demand. Although Zukis is on a single shot, Landjock does enough to fend them off there, even find themselves minis. That's going to actually be a huge boon for them. Great find. This On1 now is on the hunt. Zukis has not gotten any heals just yet. This is a desperate position to be on. See if he can find it. Nothing just yet, Jacob.
At Landjock,
right,
he's
going in
ammo because he only had 2 shots left in the combat. That would have been drastic, especially with the angle that he has right now. Zuki's getting pressured from both On1 and Zypha. They finally bulldoze their way in, but it's going to be a trade. Landjock is doing a good job of fighting back, and On1 senses some weakness, and he plans his revenge as he takes this fight right to their doorstep.
And I'll tell you what happened. He ran out of shotgun ammunition. He had 2 bullets in the combat. I saw it. He saw it, but then he forgot. We all get in those kind of situations where the pressure starts to set in and you just result in muscle memory. It's human nature.
And as we tune into Cold, no Acorn, struggles continue once more. As Cold's just trying to make up for it. This is typically where both Mega, Snake, Bucky, and Oakis are trying to split that loot. And that's why you saw them fighting tooth and nail last game. As Cole's just trying to take advantage, peek some shots in, get some Storm Surge before he backtracks, and hopefully tries to get Acorn back into the game. But a team that was once in first place, they had a little bit of a misstep in game number 1. Duke and Edgy, once again, uncontested. That team that was kind of fighting them on that day number 1 is no longer making their presence known on this side of the map.
They're just edging their way to the side there, and look at that, they get to pick up a kinetic blade. Nicely done. And of course, as we're tuning in with our top tier teams, we have to see what's happening around the world as well. This is another team, Pars in Baka. Exceptional performances on day 1. They slide their way into day 2, and already here on game 8, they are maintaining their 4th place position and starting to edge away there. 2 quick elims on the coastal side.
Yeah, they did close the gap at least a little bit from them and everybody else that was above them. As with those eliminations, you see it updating live. They've overtaken Acorn and Cold on the leaderboard just by 3 points. And you see Cooper and Miro over at 315. The top 5 looking so stacked. But that's because that game number 1 that we had, where a lot of our top teams, specifically the top 2, went down so early before placement points even set in.
Other relevant teams that have fallen already: Bucky, Ocus, Trashy, and Pump. These are exceptional players, but game 8 not in their favor just yet. Cold and Acorn are situating themselves right now. A very tough game for them last round. Bugha and Threats have themselves a whole world of new problems today. This is actually Polarized and Inpen.
Yeah, it looks like we're trying to smush the other team contesting both of them on that side. But Polaroids, with a confident play just to take over that high ground and land a good shot onto Threats, backing him down just a little bit. But you can kind of see the strategy. Npen eased up that pressure, moved in, made it look like a 2v2 was going to go down. As soon as that happened, Polaroids got right on out to disengage, going against Bugha and Threats this early in the game. Wouldn't be on my list of things to do.
That was crazy, though. The free fire right there that Threats was able to tag and land with. And just like that, you have a little bit of a standoff here between Npen, Polarized, Threats, and Bugha. Of course, none of them want to overcommit, but those tags that they find are extremely important, of course, because you have to do damage at the end of the day. So let's look at Chubbs and Bryce here. Red dots also in hand. I like the charge shotgun pickup here from Bryce. A little bit of a surprise, of course, because the augments give you that option.
Plant you a charge shotgun and a flint knock pistol to go for broke augment. But the mega city that's been wielding some great entertainment so far, Poyo and Sphinx, specifically Poyo with the 1v2 against Epic Whale and Reet. You can see in the mini-map, they're already trying to disengage. You got to imagine that they got their vault loot, and they just want to try to put some distance between them and then Jeff and Rapid, who are also a team that lands over towards Mega City.
We see ourselves an excellent quick stack here. Poyo and Sphinx were the only team with 20 points in every single game on day number 1. And you know what? Just judging by the strategy, every time we've tuned in, it's been the same. But hold up. Give that a moment. We'll catch back up in a second. I'll finish that thought after Cold and Acorn finish this fight. But can they win it? It's the most important part. They fall first. Lizzis and Bully Bean coming again. And just like that, Game 7 did not go their way. Game 8 as well. Huge upsets, completely different story for them. They're down and out.
We talked about it to start the day. The top 9 teams were the ones we're really looking at for contention to take the FNCS Championship by storm, with 2 games already slipped up for Acorn and Cold. They're going to need a monster 4 to end the day and end the day strong to try to keep their position at the top of the leaderboard. But they also already got their spot booked already for that global championship, so that's not necessarily a must for them. It's just something that's bragging rights. It's just something that they want to do to add on to their accolades that they already possess.
Yeah, for some that have, you know, again, wield or have already begun to wield that FNCS Active Champion, you know, it doesn't maybe hold the same prestige. They can say they've done it before, but if you're someone like Kanata, right, you absolutely want to finally earn one for you, right? So it is very different for everyone outside of course, making your way to the global championships that are happening just in October. Details are online. You saw the announcements. Tomorrow, first thing in the morning, it looks like tickets are live.
I know my alarm's set. I'm going to kind of get a ticket myself. That's some action that I don't want to miss, especially where it's at. duking, edging without that off-spawn exchange game after game. You can see their plan of how they're getting that Storm Surge. Immediately hunting around. And that's the thing. It's not enough to just master your drop spot. You have to know the other drop spots, the other teams around, what their loot path is, so that way you can make a surge path just like this. And it already looks like with the zone pulling towards the south, it moved towards the west. They're trying to give themselves the least congested side of the zone to kind of play in.
I like what I'm watching. Let's see a little update here from Kanata and Agers. Bit of a split position played out between the two, but they're still at the racetrack on the outer edge. Not really a soul in sight. This might be a troublesome game for them. Yes, they have an elimination, so we can assume they have some tags, but we all know those early game elims, I mean, you know, players are not really healthy at that point, right? They're typically shieldless, so it's about 100 damage. That's not enough. Not enough for Storm Surge.
All it does is typically buy you a couple of extra seconds, maybe a minute, before you got to look for that surge again. As Batman Booga, they're trying to look for not only surge, but some points to make up for those speed bumps they hit across the way. But you got to be careful. Pamso and Fatch, like a lion in the safari, slowly but surely creeping up, getting ready to pounce at a moment's notice against DJ and Muzz, who started the day off hot yesterday, slowly but surely slipped up. But there's no time like the present, especially in day number 2, as Batman Booga's forced back, but lands a quick shot. These trades are so important, making sure nobody has the upper hand. But as soon as I say that, that Pamso third party comes in. But if you look at the mini-map, there's still 2 more teams that have yet to take part in this fight that have that potential to do so.
You can see this fight's all open, the weapon cache. They want that loot that gets pushed out of it. There's not a dull moment in sight for NA, though. The fight's ringing out all across the map. This is before the warning even goes out, before the lobby even gets the message to take the battles. They're already setting up here. You love to see this level of aggression really starting to take place here. But this is, I think, what's going to happen and what we can expect for the remaining years of North America now that we have West and East completely merging and competing against one another.
Just Pamso just being like a fly at a picnic, just buzzing around this fight, not letting anybody eat comfortably. But that's Caskers and Clarity, who sneak up on him, sneaking up on somebody else. Fatch probably had a couple trees there. He wasn't able to watch like he probably wanted to. And that's going to force him to disengage, but it's going to do nothing to this fight. Muzz, Degen against Batman Booga and Bacon. Nobody really wanting to back down, even though Batman Booga did scrape away with a good portion of that loot that they're fighting over.
Well, now they've more or less griefed one another's material count, so they will have to conclude that fight to get the refresh. Jumping back over to Pollo and Sphinx, finishing that thought that I had moments ago. Every single game has played out exactly like this. If you rewind the tape, go from game 1 all the way up to now game 8, you will see this exact execution in place here. There's probably not a better team to review right now here at the Mega City. They have played the perfect Mega City tournament run that we've seen so far. But of course, it will come down to the next 4 games.
Yeah, and honestly, throughout the offseason, before week 1 even started, you saw a lot of teams interchange players. We saw a lot of more mixed regions between the two, East and West, when we did combine into just NA. And this is the team that is eons above. Pollo from the West, Sphinx from the East, and they're making it known that they are a team to watch out for. Seek and Lawrence already on top of Rift Island, not wanting to let anybody contest them that high in the sky. They were at least able to get a knock on the Mason. Bryce is there putting in shots as well to clean it up, but the elimination points are still going to go on over to Lawrence and Seek.
Battle for the Rift Island seems to be successful so far for hiding Lawrence. But company has arrived. It's trouble. It's Reet. It's Epic Whale. After the last game, I mean, they got to sit on their hands for quite some time. Hopefully things haven't cooled down too much for them, because we all know that level of inconsistency does start to wear in on you. As a competitive player, you do not want to be sent back to the lobby so early in the rounds. You really are forced to think about those last games, and even that can start to take its toll.
Yeah, but they already gave everybody a warning on the day. They said 6 of 6 were going for that Rift Island. They got taken down in game number 1 to Pollo to Mega City. They never made it there, but as soon as it spawns, you see them flying in the sky, contesting it, so nobody can get any sense of the loot. And Reet and Epic, with that vault loot already in hand, they can pack a punch. That one-shot potential is going to be massive. So the longer you contest a team like this, the more risk you're taking to get taken down in the blink of an eye.
Let's see it. Right now, deciding what arguments they want to go ahead and pick up to take on the rest of the game. It looks like Flare Gun's going to be one of the picks.
It's going to help because now they know exactly where everybody on Rift Island is. They know Seek and Lawrence is a little distance away. That other team that was up there kind of disengaged altogether. It's Frenzy Fields becoming a hot spot as well. 400 above the damage threshold. Pamso and Fatch. Going to throw it over to Jenny. How has their game been faring so far?
Thank you, Jacob. Yes, Pamso and Fatch had a great game last game. As we can see, they had 11 eliminations, and they broke into top 10, which is absolutely huge for them. However, this game, they do not have katanas, either of them. So we'll have to see if that affects them moving into the end game.
Gonna be something that I'm watching to the end of time. They're making some sneaky plays, but you heard Jenny say it herself. The lack of the kinetic blade's gonna make rotating for them much, much harder. The blessing that they do have on their side, though, Monster, is the zone. It's over towards Frenzy Fields, where they initially drop at to start the game.
Yeah, and we saw the zone land on top of Kanata and Aegis as well, and they've already fallen in the feed, so... Just because you get zone does not mean it's going to be easy. In fact, I believe it is arguably a little bit more difficult when it lands right on top of you because you are almost forced to play a little bit more static, a bit more stationary. And for some, that can be really, really difficult to adjust to. But let's hop on over to the team that's been on the move all day today. Bugha, Threats. They don't have an Elim. They're somewhat middling as far as the overall loot goes. I like the heal situation, although he's been tagged. We will have to dig in just a little bit there, but the material count, I'm not too excited about.
Yeah, and my question mark is the Surge as well. Since zone is over here, not a lot of teams are going to cross this path. No. The only one I imagine they saw was NPen and Polaroids to kind of start the game off, and there you have it. It is going to be revealed 50 below, but Bugha and Threats, 50 below, that's nothing. They waste no time going above and continuously climbing as they look back and spot out Kwa and Jack.
A very experienced team over there, and look at this. Bugha trying to play for the pinch here. He wants to get those side angles. This is a very dangerous spot to be in, though, nonetheless. He is pretty spread out from Threats there. The pressure starts to come in, trying to see if he can force and bring in the interest of the lobby to shoot in. I think that tree is actually blocking the line of sight. He's wondering, like, hey, you shot at me. Why aren't you shooting at Thumb? That's literally what's going through Bugha's mind right now. I guarantee you, as he's trying to force this lobby focus, he doesn't get it. He drinks the Mega Slurp juice early just so that he can get the health on up and ticking before the Surge gets active, and already not looking too hot.
It just goes to show, plant a tree, save a life. Because once again, Bugha gets tagged up by that same team, but you talked about it, the tree is just not there. And that's them taking advantage of as Threats closes the gap. They were once split up between the two, and they have that strength in numbers. Because they're hoping that Quan Jock maybe forgot about him. You see them sneaking up. The edit goes through. Bugha thinks he's spotted out. Whether he was or was not spotted out, he quickly builds to try to shield himself. They already got themselves the edge of that zone, and as the zone begins to move, it also opens up the slower side and will keep their trend alive of going to the least congested side of the map.
He pretty much just blind fired right back at that box, seeing if something would hit. Nothing quite connects there. Polarized and NPen, after a Game 7 win, finds himself below the Surge ever so slightly here in Game 2. Storm's already ticking. They're actually rolling up right behind Jack and company, but no extra shots come in from Quanti and Peterbot, putting a halt to their ambush, and Polarized misses the most important shots of Game 8, the ones that would have kept him alive, and he recognizes now things might be over. The Surge still ticking here. He is on the clock. He is also in the Storm, mind you. That is just adding to the pressure here.
If anybody plays that in slow motion, he was on 1 HP. Storm Surge ticked him down. That's neither here nor there because he gets taken out trying to go for shots as they continuously fall below the threshold. That's what I'm saying. Them uncontested at Kinjitsu's crossing is doing more harm than good for a team that needs to find that Surge. Even though they're going against Bugha and Threats, they all only got maybe just a little bit off of Polaroid shots, and now they're just kind of stuck. NPen is now stuck in just a weird spot. Still has to rotate the zone. Rotate into so many teams here. He's trying to go up and over. Maybe they don't notice him, but even if they don't, he still has to fight anybody in his surroundings to get the damage that he needs.
Yeah, he's pretty much hanging out right now for the moments being. The Legendary Slurp Juice obviously in hand here to keep him up should he need it. And there it is. Things get active. The ticks start to come in. The damage has been dealt. And he is already now in even more trouble than he was before. He's got a duo behind him. He's got the duo in front of him. That is his wall, though. But no, too much going on here. He's going to go ahead and back off. Tries to buy himself some time. I like the passiveness here, but he probably should have opened the edit when he had the chance to. Now, it might just be wraps for him. Out he goes. He has to complete a disengage. Great play for him to run at that moment.
And in comes a new challenger because he thought he was safe trying to go past two teams. Ends up in the palm of the hands of both Quanti and Peterbot on the other side. Just one of those things that it's not the luck of the draw. Not going to be on your side, but Pars and Baka with 3 eliminations. They're still trying to remain as consistent as possible. And we know they're one of the consistent teams in the lobby. I talked about it yesterday, but I'll say it again. To end that Duo Cash Cup a few days ago, they won 3 games in a row. 10 eliminations, and 8 to close out the day. If they could channel that type of play here towards the last half, they could be your new FNCS champions.
What better time to start going on a run in Cash Cups? Other than now, when the full merging of the regions has already happened, and you're going against those same legit competitors. That's all the confidence you need to gear up for an FNCS Grand Finals weekend. Pollo and Sphinx, though, from Mega City, the zones kept them here long enough. Finally now, the landlord comes knocking. And they want their payments, and Pollo's looking a little hurt for cash right now. He's got to figure this one out. Very tough spot to be in. Oh, why peek it?
Decision is made regardless. Sphinx now stuck as a solo. Very, very similar to Pollo in that last game, but picking up points is going to be huge as Pars is the one who actually gets the elimination onto Pollo. So now Sphinx is kind of hunting for information, trying to figure out where a lot of teams are, which is going to be hard. He's underneath a bridge. There's so many different mountains, so a good portion of his visibility is blocked off, so that is going to go and deny him a ton of information.
That's right, but it also denies lines of sights onto him, hence this being a decent spot to be in as a solo for now. We'll see what happens when the rotates. Let's jump in with Chubbs and Bryce, who have 0 eliminations, but the zone's right behind them. They're just a kinetic blade away. You can see Chubbs trying to stay warm, sliding back and forth in the box, just letting us know here, hey, we're chilling. We ain't doing nothing crazy, not till the zone comes this way.
No, what that is right now is he has that augment, so every time you slide, you get the medium ammo intact. It's not a ton, but for a team that has less than 100 actual medium ammo, anything is better than nothing as Chubbs flies through the sky, lands a cheeky little shot to try to get a little bit more onto Stormsters, but also back down his opponent so he doesn't become a target. You see in the feed, Booga and Threats, they find those 2 eliminations, and this is all the loot they've just been rewarded with.
Booga, Threats on the move right now. Big rotates coming out with the kinetic blades. No more to push with. And up he goes. This is going to be a very scary mountain to climb later. You might as well start getting up now. And you can see already the flare guns starting to come out. They have the information they need.
Damn.
It's just an info dump, literally. And they see there's one duo behind them. That's going to be the team of focus here at Speederbot and company, but they're already gone. Kinetic blading away, up and over to this high ground. Already, though, things are going to settle here. Zone's going to pull back. We have other fights happening everywhere unfolding right now. The action just continues to rack up here already for Game 8, Zone number 9.
You see Yamzone rise on the other side. You can see it in the feed as well, getting that elimination. As Baka keeping things rolling for him and Pars. They find another elimination on Deceased, bringing their total to 6. They have 24 points this game off straight eliminations alone. If you're trying to close the gap and take first place, especially take advantage of the fact that Golden Acorn went down early, and that's the team that's directly above you, this is exactly how you do it. And now they possess the vault loot as well.
That's a big pickup right there. I'm happy they went to go check it out to see what was being offered, because this is a huge pickup that can change the game right now. They're poised to potentially win this one right here. Keep an eye out on them. Duke and Edgy also. What is this? From Acorn and Cold falling early to them staying alive right now. They have another chance to start to pick up that lead and break away.
Yeah, they need to take first place back away from point on Sphinx, especially with Sphinx being a solo here in the lobby. It is definitely possible. You see the flare guns going out, everybody's position being revealed. Sphinx drops down low. Couple players in this lobby do know he's a solo, and you said it yourself, a refresh. That's exactly what Sphinx is looking for, and exactly why he's staggering himself backside his zone.
Look at that. It's going to go in and break his way through. Doesn't get the tree that he was looking for, but now finds himself on TK's wall. Couldn't quite land. And all of a sudden, he is now officially out of material in enemy build. Shots are coming in. The angle is too good for Pamsel and Fast. They find themselves a refresh. Threats loses Booga, and he is by himself now. Also, 3 Elans front side of zone. He needs a refresh. He has to find it. The option's not simple. Solo champ ritual right in front of him.
So little mats right now for Threats. Even though he does have 3 eliminations, Duke lost Edgy. But at least shuts down the Storm Surge, something that they don't have to worry about anymore. And High Ground gets chopped down. That's Bully, that's Lizux, who get chopped down to size into the palm of the hands of everybody else, which gives so many players a chance to try to claim the high ground on this next rotation.
This is a huge surprise. Duke almost had a crazy elimination right there, but instead he goes for the med kit in the zone. That's going to be quite the play. We'll see if that works out for him. Threats, however, gets taken out in the meantime. And just like that, Duke buys himself 10 free seconds, 10 seconds, which gets him 3 more placement points. That could be a difference. What more can he make? Misses the shot when it matters, but there's a player there too. Scrambles his way out. He doesn't even know what's going on right now. I think he's also trying to find his bearings here until Cody goes again. That's his safe spot.
Going crazy right now, right before our very eyes.
What?
Miro and Cooper, they're trying to go ahead and take that top spot as well. Consistency is key throughout the 2 days of this event. This is already game number 8, so games are just flying by right before our very eyes as Iamzo takes down Miro. Cooper's still alive, though, so these solo points are going to be huge.
Quick as a flash, Iamzo, the reaction speed was there. 7 Elans for him. You can tell he is on fire right now, not looking to stop here. Another player in front of him doesn't even hesitate. Lets it rip and finds himself a huge shield crack right there. We're inside the top 10. This is the danger zone now.
Ooh, big find. They have no mats.
Oh
Stay
my
in
God.
foot, and it's working to perfection. Even though it's not a ton of mats, at least it's something to work with here. And they get another elimination, taking down Caskers as well. We got ourselves into the top 10.
Another one!
Keep it going! What are we witnessing?
Already a 3-piece pickup. Drop kicking everyone on the mid-ground. Iamzo demands respect here. He hasn't even had a chance to heal. Meanwhile, Rise is completely healthy in front of the zone. Rise, we get to jump in right now, playing the heal-off situation here. He's like, all right, Iamzo, wow. You just go. You keep rolling through the lobby. Rise now backs it on out. There is just a couple seconds before it fully closes. Lizix from the high ground on down. Quad catches him, though, and a beautiful execution on the Elim is enough for Rise to go ahead and ride this one out. A 12 Elan dub.
I don't think they planned to pay heal up at the end of that game, but as soon as those rolls emerged, Iamzo just fragging out. Rise had all the heals. He knew exactly what to do, and he didn't get greedy, and that is a player that's trying to contest someone like Acorn to be called one of the best IGLs in North America.
Talk about putting up the bullets and the shots when you needed to. X marks the spot. He was on target every single time there, Jacob. Take a look one more time. I want to. I know you do as well. At this moment, we already knew he had it. He picked up a slew of Elans. He did enough damage to the rest of the lobby. Qua had nothing. Rise rides it out and wins the game. And just like that, game 8 victory goes to Iamzo and Rise, and that's a book shut.
Yeah, something that we kind of saw in that last season. Anytime these guys get a chance to play, whether contested or not, they put up numbers, simply put.
That is right.
Talk about those numbers, though. The leaderboard has changed hands yet again. Zeke, analyst, take it away.
Man, I thought game 1 was crazy. I thought NPen and Polarized showed us what NA was going to be, but it is not the case because Iamzo and Rise decided, let me just turn and burn every single duo that we could possibly do this to and get 12 elims and a victory royale. NA, they ain't having it today. They're like, no, we're fighting for a crown. We're fighting for 3 spots. Let's do it.
They're setting us up. They're setting us up for one heck of a, back end of the day, because every single time a team seems to take over first place, second place, they seem to have a bad game, right? And it just gives these opportunities for all of these other teams like Iamzo Rise, who, by the way, just had a pop-off game, 12 eliminations from them. Incredible stuff.
And such intelligent plays coming out of the both of them there, divvying up the roles for, again, one player to go for the eliminations, one player to stay back, get the heal off because he saw that he had the slurp and the men miss, knowing that he was going to be in a good position. But of course, watching Iamzo pop off, and I think he went down to what, 10 HP at one point and still got the siphon. It was such an incredible play to watch.
He was just hitting every single shot. Didn't matter if the player was to the right, to the left, up, off his screen, below him, anything like that. Iamzo was just locked in. I mean, look.
He knows where they are.
Stop. Like, how? what are you doing?
Just a ridiculous showing here from NA. Showing us, hey, look, I know you thought you knew what the top 5 was coming into day number 2. Well, you're wrong, because we are all here to play. Those spots are so crucial. We will now fight for them as well. Let's take a look at our standings, though. How much does this single game impact our standings? We'll take a look. Iamzo and Rise, they launched themselves up those standings. 9 places, now taking over that number 1 spot. But now start to look at the rest of these standings, dude. If you ask me, hey, Zeke, if you know, Kenny said, Zeke, this is what day 2 is going to look like, I wouldn't believe you. I would have never imagined this, but NA has something else to say.
I can't believe that they have 39 eliminations, 7 more than the second most amount of eliminations that we have, but also Baka and Pars doing such a good job. 260 placement points, and they're also able to get a bunch of eliminations as well. That's why they're currently ahead of Polo and Sphinx. They are, I'm just blown away right now.
The chase was on in day number 1. There's no chase happening in day number 2. Everybody's just switching spots on the top of the leaderboard, and a team that now find themselves in second place. It's going to be Baka and Pars. And I mean, listen, they had a good game number 7, good game number 8. Maybe the strategy is that they switched up day number 1 to day number 2. The extra prep work is working for them clearly.
It is like, once again, just look at these names on these standings, right? People like Booga and Threats, Acorn and Cold, names that started today in a super strong position are now just being pushed aside. These other duos, they want to play. And just think, we have 4 more games here before we know who'll walk away with Axe of Champions. And for Iamzo and Rise to come out swinging like this, Kelly, my oh my.
I love it because there is now only a 50-point lead between 1st and 8th place. That can change so quickly. A single game can dictate the leaderboard. And again, these players aren't just fighting for that 1st place spot. I mean, they're not even fighting for the top 3 spot to make it to the Global Championships. Each placement that they get is more money in their pocket and more pride to hold on to themselves as well. Gosh, I don't even know what to say.
Well, we're still talking about all the switches that are happening, but you're talking about how there's only a 50-point difference. That means that still these top teams are still holding on, getting enough points in every single game to stay within contention. And a team that is doing that got to be Booga and Threats, of course, being in the 7th place position on the leaderboard right now, right? Only around that 50 points behind. That's just 1 game difference between them and 1st place right now.
I think what is kind of terrifying me, and like this realization is setting in, if any of these duos, and I kind of like talked about it at the very, very beginning of the show, if any duo makes a mistake and they go down, everyone else will absolutely capitalize on that situation. And we've seen it, right? These first 2 games have already shown us every other duo is saying, we want you to fall. And the moment that you do, we are going to turn it on, and we're going to pull out all the stops, right? NPen, Polarize, now Iamzo and Rise, names we're so familiar with hearing on NA. This scares me.
Well, with Booga and Threats, you know, a lot of players might want to see them fall, and we kind of saw them have a rough game 7. But in game number 8, they learned from their mistake, and honestly, it was kind of funny watching in game 7 them doing the non-dead side rotation that we've seen them doing time and time again, and it fell, and obviously they were able to make the adjustments that they needed for game 8.
Now, we do want to take a look at a couple stats we want to break down. We want to look at kind of damage across the games we've seen so far. So, Vivid, why don't you break this down for us?
Yeah, so this is going to be the L plus damage ratio across all teams. Basically, what that means is teams that are dealing more damage than they are receiving. So, as you can see, the team that is doing the best at that right now, 1.28. It's going to be Death and Tahi, which is honestly a surprise when it comes to me personally. Also, Re and Epic Whale finding themselves up there as well. So the damage is being done. It's not really being taken, but they're still not finding themselves towards the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, it's not too surprising to see Re and Epic Whale there. Re is an incredibly aggressive player, so it does make sense that he'd be doing a bunch of damage, but it's just a shame that we're not able to see them convert that into a successful mid to late game. And I believe they're currently sitting around around 25th place right now. I'm not too certain, just after game number 8. But, man, to see them have such a high score right here, clearly able to convert incredible damage, I'm wondering what they're missing.
Yeah, let's also talk about the fact that, our top teams aren't up there, which means that they are still finding themselves at the top after basically taking more damage than they are really receiving, which is a feat of its own. So they must be finding so many heals to deal with that.
Well, look, now is that time. Now or never. Because again, Acts of Champions and 3 spots all in line for the Global Championships. NA, it is time for us to step up. All right, let's make some waves. Let's make some things happen right here. This is game number 9 of the FNCS.
Let's see who has that winning formula, who has cracked the most difficult code, and that is taking home an FNCS win. Because so far today, we've had a nice widespread over the NA space. Not so much on EU. The story's been much different here for us.
No, it definitely has. And we're already seeing some big changes to that leaderboard, specifically Iamso and Rise. Well-deserved at that. Iamso doing what he does best and just tearing up the lobby. And hopefully that momentum continues into this next game, because game number 9 is ready.
That is right. We have game 9 here. We're slowly inching our way towards the end of the day. This will officially mark the halfway point, or actually the 75% mark, the tail end of the competition. This has been a 2-day event. Death, Tahi, we get to start with. Of course, you're wondering, where is all this damage coming from? Well, they have some players in the vicinity. They also have, of course, this vault. All the damage that they get to do on the surrounding AI and whatnot starts to feed into it, so it really does start to track up and buff up those numbers. So there's a bit of some skewed going on, but hold up. Let's hop in Iamso. Let's hop in with Rise right now. Again, quick, easy, swift. They close out Nick. We already know what they're going to do to Nick next, right? They've been doing this all weekend long.
Oh, but he found a kinetic blade. This is going to be his only chance to try to survive. He does a couple dashes. He is going to get away from now, but they are hot on his heels. Yeah, they definitely need this elimination. They want to hold their first place intact. They want the Storm Surge as well. They crack the shields, but are they going to go on the Great Chase? Because you got to keep in mind, they still have a loop path. They still have a surge path. They still have the rest of the game that they are going to try to play out, but they're just hoping that he doesn't have a ton of material to continue to try to hide and then catch him on the tail end. That is going to be Rise that takes down Nyx, and it was Rise. Honestly, once you saw Iamso land that first shot, if you notice, he was just putting down suppressive fire to make sure even if he peeked, he would go down regardless, but Iamso finished it off nonetheless.
That's right, and they were trying to hold on to that kinetic blade, charge up those shots, and then make a clean escape. That was actually a very greatly executed elim there. They needed to make sure they secured those kinetic blades. Chubbs and Bryce, of course, we get to catch up with all of our best performers so far. We've seen a lot of Chubbs and Bryce. Last game, they fell just short of probably where they wanted to be. Now we see them slipping down. They're currently sitting in 9th place. We have new kings up at the top here. Iamso, Rise, Baka, Pars, Boyo, Sphinx. These are our new top 3s right now inside of the conversation. Dukes and Edgy had a bit of a struggle as well so far. You know, this is the nature of two-day competitions, right? We will see these back and forths, right? These adjustments, these changes happen to overall placements.
Yeah, and already you're seeing the change up here as we peek in 2 eliminations onto Duke right out of the gate. So you got to imagine another drop spot switch up has been achieved for some of these teams, but may not have been the best ending for that one as you see them consolidating all of the heals like we've seen many games before, and you can kind of see already how stacked Mega City is off drop. But since it is so big of a POI, it's easy to try to loot up without really fighting anybody or feeling forced to fight anybody.
Well, the thing is, you don't get great loot from these, you know, the material gains is not excellent. Yeah, sure, you'll get you know, an awesome loadout, maybe some big heals. The vault accessibility, of course, is a massive dub, but the actual material gains is poor. You have to slow down. It'll take you a lot of time to go in and max farm, and that's why Boyo and Sphinx actually split up. But let's jump in with Sineto and Dequented here, giving Bolt and Thoric some problems right now off the gate here. They end up securing the isolation here, grab the wall as well. Huge shot onto Bolts there. Both sides already lit. Goes for the window peek. That was very gutsy there. Ends up working out. You get the knock, and now going for the finish here inside of the box. Thoric's facing 2 players on the other side. They're angry. The pickaxe comes out as well. The disrespect.
Yeah, the former NA West champions on these contested drops, not necessarily finding their stride here in this FNCS. As Chubbs and Bryce, they found it long ago. They're just trying to hold on to it. Quickly edits in, falls into the box of Aiden, and sends him all the way back to the lobby. And you can see in the feed, Paper already taking down Hound. So that full team and their game number 9 has come to an end.
It's very good for Paper and Shadow. We've seen them more often than not on the side that's running, the side that's disengaging. Now we get to see them win. Here's Pamso and Thatch. We get to jump in. Frenzy Fields, an excellent point to have to yourself. They have this entire area more or less to themselves. Other teams now starting to look onwards and in to see what they can steal from this drop here. But Pamso and Thatch find themselves in 6th place so far after 2 days of competition here. This is game number 9.
That's a good amount of loot already from the capture point as well. Since nobody was there, you don't really spot anybody out, especially towards the outskirts as Acorn and Cold back into the mix, trying to have a make-up performance here. If anybody can do it, it would be Acorn and Cold. To try to close the distance, though, they will need some eliminations. Otherwise, they'll be hoping for a lot of the competitors that are above them to go down early. And they're already spotting down both Bully and Lizux right below. They've separated, though. That's going to be the biggest thing. If Acorn and Cold can notice that, they're going to see it as a green light and go.
Yeah, and you can see he's holding that cone there. The wall comes out. That gives him the information he needs. And I think they have recognized we might have an opportunity here. This is a single box. It's not a 2-box wide. We can take advantage, and there it is. He tries to jump in. Lizux. I want to give him some credit, though. Great job recognizing danger. The timing couldn't have been better. The moment Acorn jumps out, he's like, all right, gotta go. Blasts out the side here. Acorn and Cold are taking this very personal, though. They were fully eliminated by this duo last game.
Acorn put himself on notice as well. Commented saying, I'm throwing right now. And that's something that is big for a lot of these players, is realizing the mistakes you're making, admitting defeat, and holding yourself accountable. And that's going to be the first step in Acorn and Cold, hopefully making a comeback. Koyo and Sphinx, I feel like this is where we left them the last couple of games to start off Mega City. They build themselves a tower in one of the highest locations. And you can see it's usually that bottom left building, which gives them a line of sight of everybody to the southern portion of the map, to the east, west, and the north.
That's right. Doesn't get any better than that. Having that consistent game plan, strategy in place. And most importantly, being able to execute. At the end of the day, you can be spoon-fed all the details. Hey, here's what you got to do. Here's the best road takes, etc. But you have to put up the performance when it matters. And that's what we're watching play out. Cooper and Marrow have a chance to also solidify and punch their ticket to the Global Championships in October. Seemingly out of nowhere with the surprise performances, Miro entertaining the idea of stepping away, goes on a whim with a coin flip and says, you know what, gut feeling says, let's go take this. And he's in top 5 right now. That's ridiculous.
It's like that. Every time I try to get away, they keep pulling me back in.
Too good.
That's Miro, yeah, that's exactly kind of his story. Multi-time FNCS champion, multi-time runner-up. I think the biggest hiccup was that FNCS Invitational, which is why I think he's trying to get back on that international stage.
Something so special about playing in person. Lucky for you, you can also attend in person if you absolutely want to. Tickets are going live tomorrow, first thing in the morning, May 15th. Mark your calendars. For some, they already are punching their way all the way through. They've already earned their seat at the big stage. And for others, here on NA, the story is yet to be determined. We will be pushing through 3 new duos to the Global Championships. Plenty of time to get your passports, that's for sure.
Make sure you guys put yourself on notice. That's a good point.
Yep.
You guys are on North America. Get your passports ready for travel. And traveling is what a lot of our teams are doing on the day. Cascos and Clarity from Breakwater Bay, even though they got Nownsy right in front of them, they still have much distance to cover in towards the zone. But they have to go ahead and check him off the list. That's going to do so many things in terms of loot and in terms of Storm Surge. And that's going to be Cascos who cleans that one up rather quickly. And now they can go on their merry way.
Clarity G, Casker have had tons of exceptional moments this weekend. You love to see them continue to find their stride. They are, however, just outside the top 10 at the moment, so there's still a lot of performance to be put up for them. Let's get a little update going on here, Jacob. Talk to me about Duke and Edgy's position here. It looks like they're doing pretty darn good.
No, they definitely have. This time, they won that off-spawn exchange that's been eluding them for the past couple of games, and they're immediately using that comfortability when it comes to already having that surge, even though it isn't much, to beeline it to this weapons cache, not let it degrade in rarity, so that way they can get the best loot possible, even though they are separated. They're definitely one of those teams that can close the distance, because they do also have a kinetic blade, and Zypha on one. We see them battle out almost every single game against Landjock and Zukis with one elimination already. They got the ball rolling, but Lizek and Bully, you saw them disengage from Acorn and Cold. Now they're in a box-to-box fight versus Zypha and On One. You got to imagine what it's for. Well, it was for that weapon cache.
Keep in mind, this is the hometown of Pamso and Fatch right here. They were just here moments ago. We don't see them around anymore. I do wonder what all unfolded there. Did they rotate out? Were they caught off guard? There's a lot of new duos showing up. Lizix and Bully don't have any elims either, so they've just pulled up here. They have managed to secure some of that loot cache there. They're sitting on a surplus of heals. They can take this battle. I don't know, if I'm Lizix, I'm probably pulling, I was going to say, pull this loot back, get it into a little bit more of a safer position, secure it.
Yeah, even though you guys kind of see him eyeing the thought of using that med kit for 14 HP. Some people thinking, well, that's nothing. Why are you going to go ahead and waste time for 14 HP? Well, it stops him from that one-shot potential from anything other than that Mythic Havoc. As Chubbs and Bryce, they've already only had to rotate a few paces to get to this position over towards the edge zone. And instead of going far and deep towards the south, we have a chance to continue to kind of center up, even pull north a little bit. And that would be a blessing in disguise for a team like this.
Yeah, they have the kinetic blades to do so as well. Play this low ground terrain here. This is a nice spot to be in if you're going to make a ground rotate. You see them switch over to brick because there's so much reservoirs down low here that they can start to farm up with as well. And it's the little details that matter. Let's take a look at where Cold and Acorn are. This has been their strategy too. They do tend to poise up a position just outside the mega city. So far, looking okay.
See Rift Island already there, beginning to appear. There's going to be a question to who goes and contests it. I know one team that claims they're going to go for it game after game, but are they going to be one of those teams that actually does it as users getting back down, Paper and Shadow trying to get a little antsy and take this player down as they continue to break through the walls. Peace Control going underneath their own, and with the Red Eyes, they're just trying to make this one easy. Whether it's them that gets the elimination or the Storm itself, user is gonna go down unless he finds some sort of a miracle. The med miss is being used. He's doing everything he can, but it's just simply not enough. And you can see in the feed, that goes over to School. Not even Shadow and Paper, so all the effort, all the resources expended for virtually nothing.
I was wondering, how did that happen? We didn't see shots come in, but they must have gotten the last tag, and they didn't get to touch him. So, user, being extremely slippery, manages to effectively not give anything to Shadow and Paper. I'm sure he's in some way going to take solace in that, probably happy. Well, let's get on over back to Zypha on one over at the Frenzy Field. We were wondering where Thatch and Pamsa were. They're just outside of the action. Like, yeah, sure, you guys want to come in here, y'all can have it. We've already ran through here. We got the loot we need. But everyone else starting to battle now. Really makes you wonder how good of a player and Thatch and Pamsu are. That timing to go ahead and just slip out of danger when it mattered most.
NA West, stand up. That's how I feel every time I see some of our competitors, Baka and Pars. But I'm going to go ahead and throw it on over to Jenny so we can see how some of our teams are faring in this lobby.
Thanks, Jacob. Yes, okay, so Baka and Pars, we can see here, Baka is taking a different approach to getting storm tags. They're not really worried about storm sickness at all, but they are staying in the storm a bit, building up, getting those storm surge tags, and you can see Pars is just chilling. He does not care that they're in the storm. They are set up for those storm tag surge, and they're not really, again, like worried about storm sickness, and they'll be set up going into endgame.
That's the way you do it right there. You definitely want to stay proactive. You can see they're sitting on just so much loot as well. Those extra heals really giving them the moment It's crazy how much the Fortnite universe has changed in the way that these players start to set up. I would say ever since the introduction of augments, we've seen more zone play like that. It does tend to switch things up. And of course, the sprinting and the slap juice, good opportunity to. But Giants is down. This is the team that has been giving Kanata and Agers a run for their money from day 1 and day 2. They don't have any elims, so we know they didn't take down Kanata or Agers this game at least. But they do have a lot of loot in that loadout, so you can tell that it's been pretty good for them so far, but they are losing to the hands of Aviv and Skittles.
Yep. One of 3 teams that actually has a chance to get some vault loot, specifically those Mythic Havoc pumps, and already trying to put it to use. Kind of forcing Giants to really disengage. A little bit of a messed up edit on that cone allowed them to get the cheeky shot underneath and get the elimination all together. While he was trying to just pick him up and bring him to safety to hopefully to get that revive off. As Aviv is continuously trying to med mist up as these teams do fight in the storm. The longer they go, the better chance that they're going to be weak. When this with one-shot potential could go in Giants' favor, no matter what, Aviv and Skittles will possess that same potential.
Let's watch this from the beginning, though. Every story has a beginning, and for Skittles and Aviv, it all kicks off with a single elimination. They hop on in, they find Sprite, just clapping from the side, and just like that, it all comes crashing down. The Giants and crew, the back and forth. And this is where we get to where we are now. But for Rise and Yamzo, much different here. We're out of the wet storm. We're onto the dry land here. Finds themselves a nice little bush. Plenty going on all around them here. A few duels to pick from. They find one on the side, trying to make a rotate. The tag starts to come down. Nothing quite connects. But they're chilling, man. Look at this. Big heals in the loadout. Great heals on the inventory, and all in all, they're above the surge.
Baka just dropped down to just very, very little. But luckily for him, Pars was able to get at least one of those eliminations. Good amount of loot as well, which was going to be a must for someone like Baka, who doesn't have very much HP. And with still some distance to travel before they find their safety into the zone, they have to pick that perfect time. Because they're 400 above the damage threshold, so Storm Surge isn't a worry. It's just making it there. The purple kinetic blades, they have 3 charges, so it's going to be much easier than some of these other players are having in the lobby.
It's looking like it's going to be just fine for them as they now find themselves on the edge, but it's going to start to get super congested. Look at all those players who are now starting to slide their way off of those Rift Islands. And of course, the big bases all around. Baka's going to sneak one in there. Takes down Dom, whom Hide and Seek and Lawrence were trying to get the Elim on in the last minute or so. So that's a quick steal for him. Cole, Acorn looking pretty solid here. They're going to start rotating a little early right now.
Yeah, timing is going to be the name of the game. For a lot of these teams, honestly, especially with the zone converging, pulling north a good portion of the game, centering up, and then it gets a drastic turn towards the southeast. Most of that being over water, and that's why Cold and Acorn, they know it. Acorn sensed it. They're trying to beat everybody to the punch, and they get the last little bit of this pier to try to claim as their own. They don't want to go ahead and go into the open waters. They're waiting to see where this next pool is before they make a drastic rotation.
Everyone's on the move right now. Big chunk of this safe zone is hovering over that water, Jacob. This is going to be very, very tough. You can see teams trying to decide what building they want to sit up on. And most of them are not going to be on this west side. Why choose there? The bigger landmass is on over to the east, so the zone has to go that way? Question mark. For Bak and Pars, we get back to the zone. They've been here for quite some time, and now things are starting to catch up. From the analyst table on down to the casting desk. Let's see how it plays out for Bak. He gets punished there. Just a few heals here to maintain. Lawrence has arguably something even better. It's the legendary Slurp Juice. Ready to rock and roll. The tags start to come in. Might be time to drink it. There it is. He's thinking smart.
And see, it is a 1v1 because Paper, say Hide and Seek, is just no longer here. And he already got the damage. Pars gets taken out. A nice siphon to add into the Slurp Juice that he does have. And he did just enough damage to allow him to rotate freely. 35 above with teams going down. That's going to shift that threshold up and down for some of the teams here in the lobby. But for him, being above, even if it's just a little bit, is more than enough for him to focus on his rotation.
How do Booger and Threats do it every single time? We already had a full video breaking down how their rotates have just been immaculate, right? The pinnacle of player in Bugha.
Ooh, that's N-Pen and Polarize again. These two teams, if they both land on the southern portion of the map, more times than not, they will end up taking some tags at each other. They will end up in a possible exchange, but Bugha doesn't like it as the zone opens up. He rotates to where that safety net is. Everybody's going to have to do the same thing. And decision, do you go ahead to the left or the right, stay on land, or just try to beeline it across the river? There are some static launch pads that you can use if you don't have mobility, but that makes you a target and a focus of potential shots.
You know, honestly, Bugha and Threats are making it just look too easy. They are, like, literally just out-positioning every single... Look at how many players are trying to rotate right now. You would think with kinetic blades in play, oh, everyone should be in a pretty spread out good spot, right? Air quotes on the word good. But no, they're on top of one another. They're finding themselves in the most obvious spots, if you will, and then forced to start pushing cross-country like this. And it cost them a lot of material. Where Quanti and Peterbot were completely capped out, now they're about a quarter through and counting.
I saw in the feed that Cold found 2 big eliminations. And from struggling to surge as a solo throughout the first 2 games, eliminations are going to be a must. And they're finally getting some placement points to tick in as well. This is a good chance to try to make up some of those points from those first 2 games that you lost out on. But you still have a rotation to go, and now would be that time. There is a bunch of teams behind him, and timing has to be perfect because you don't want to get stuck battling everybody else for a spot in zone, especially where it's actually located. There's so many different natural elevations that these teams are going to have to deal with.
Great spots to be in right now for Cold and Acorn. You can see they're starting to shuffle through their augments right now, see what kind of upgrades they have waiting available for them. Cold and Acorn find themselves in a position just outside the safe zone. They can now start to double back, bounce back, and look at players that have to make this rotate. Who are the unfortunate few that have to move on foot? Those are the free targets for most. Duke and Edgy now. Legendary loadouts in hand. Iamzo and Rise, Trouble in Paradise for them. They have a duo right on not only the box in front of them, but the one to their side as well. And they have to go here.
That's the tricky thing is even though you yourself might be above the damage threshold, who knows where everybody else in the lobby is, and if you're down and you're next to a team that might be above, you might not have any other choice. As Iamzo and Rise make it look easy. They try to go from point A to point B, but you got to be careful. Flare gun could cause some fires on this POI. A lot of it is going to be built in wood, and where you position yourself is so important because if you take that beachside front and the zone pulls back up those hills, you better have resources or some bit of mobility or you're going to be going through it.
That's right, and Iamzo, you can see there, starts to run out of material, loses Rise, as he doesn't quite find the building that Iamzo found himself in, and he falls to the hands of Kwasu. Now Iamzo is by himself here, no materials to truly work with, flare guns popping off everywhere, so he's been exposed. We get to run that back one more quick time before we jump into the rest of the action. Take a look, Kwa tries to get to Rise, he doesn't quite have enough there, or sorry, Rise was the one cut out. And he just chases him down. Easily done for Qua now. N-Pen and Polarize here.
Oh, wow.
The punishment here.
He got kinetic bladed out of the sky, bumped, which causes some separation between him and Polarize. Have to be careful where you make your next move, just like Miro with no builds. Blessing is going to be that kinetic blade, but as soon as he flies through the sky, if he takes some damage, he will not be able to shield himself. Miro spots a Vive in the sky and begins to put down some tags. He needs Storm Surge, that way he can focus on his rotation with a couple of tags. He does find some comfortability there, and he finds some important loot. Talk about no builds. Now he picked up 300 wood. Now he's cooking.
This is a nice spot to be in here. Definitely bouncing right back. He absolutely needed it. And now he's at just enough comfortability to buy him some room, open up some real estate there. Big teams I'm seeing in the run right now. Acorn and Cold still up. Threats and Bugha there as well. Quanti, you can see on that second height. Here's a few disruptors here. They could all be playing for the position to take the dub.
This zone is very, very unforgiving. Around the beat side, up the mount, even higher up before we go back on down. So being careful is going to be important as Bugha finds an elimination along the way, taking down Ocus. Him and Threats are just getting together that loot before they make some sort of play for any bit of height, because they know this one is going to be a doozy.
Let's see it. Pam still finds Sinetto there in the feed. He's still up and running. Now making a move to the front side. He's cap material. Okay, so the refresh has been real. Meets up with Thatch here. And you have to be careful. Thatch needs to switch those materials, get back to hard mats. This is danger territory here. Aviv edges his way down, shoots off the flare gun. He's looking for all the information. They're starting to run out of material on high ground. Things are running thin. Somehow, Miro finds the refresh as well. Consistently finding himself with a little bit more in the gas tank. Cold is a solo here. He dips into the zone. A desperate play for big material. It's going to pay off as he connects bases through a player. Almost finds an Elam there as you hear the shield crack explode on his way into the zone.
Loot he just found, though, is so impactful. Same can be said for Miro. Havoc pump, mythic variation, so the one-pop potential is going to be there. You know, somebody's on the other side, possibly below and above as Cassandra out. He has the med miss, so he can play in the zone just a little bit. Hearing TK on the other side of even Skittles trying to go ahead and cement their position on towards the high ground as Duke tries to go for a play. Pamso as well. Both of them just trying to stay away from that ultimate low ground as Cold once again finds elimination, taking out Scare Bear.
And Miro steams right through TK, and now again, another refresher for him to buy himself some time on the mid-ground. Second height, Panstil, Thatch, eyeing up the opportunity here to continue to earn themselves some placements. But we have two big solos inside here. You have Miro on that second camera. Cold on the bottom, still cooking up here. He finds Larson, and he's not stopping. Ultimate low for Cold. There's not a player in sight. He's going to inch his way around. He says, no, I need to get up to a safer spot. He can actually block players out here and fight his way up into the top 5.
That timing was impeccable for Cold to dodge a lot of dangers down below. Mero just trying to do what he can, but he gets taken down by Threat. And Bugha, one of the only last duos, but I might have cursed them. They get taken down by Cold, who has 7 eliminations as a solo player, finding so many impactful refreshes. Can he do it again as Aviv and Skittles have been skating by in the high ground, and they fly by taking out Duke. Cold trying to fight back, but it's not enough to outmatch Skittles as they take him down and take the game.
What a game that was. Cold is absolutely incredible. Bugha takes down Miro, and then out of nowhere, like a sideline flashbang, you just see Cold coming on through, cleaning up house, and nearly walking away with a dub there. But in the end, it is going to be Skittles and Aviv who secured a dub. Let's run it back. Let's rewind here. Aviv, Skittles, 6 eliminations, high ground. Look at this shot. Bang! It's over. Shuts things down. And it wasn't just Aviv who finds one. Skittles hit a monster shot right before that as well.
What a way to end that game, though. Just so much action, so much chaos. And then he ends it with a perfect dunk to take the VR. And with a lot of our contenders actually staying in this game this time around, I can only imagine what that has done to the leaderboards.
I think North America might have taken Brace for Chaos a little too literally. They're like, Chaos is in there. Let's just do that. My gosh, Cold just put on the performance of a lifetime right here. And this is why we can't count out our reigning champions coming in.
You know, there's just no words, really. I mean, that's all I really got. I mean, Cold is just so good. I saw Acorn and Cold both get a refresh during the 7th zone. They were both max mats, and I was like, oh, this is the game that they're going to win. And then Acorn goes down, and I'm like, how did they go down? How is this not the game? And then Cold's like, hold up, let me cook.
I mean, we obviously have to talk about the winning team, though, of even Skittles. They've been doing a good job staying kind of in the head of the pack, but we haven't really been seeing them in that first, second, or third place spot. Well, that has changed, of course. High ground definitely seems to be coming back into fruition. I feel like at the start of the season, a lot of it was focusing on heal-off, so the high ground team typically wasn't seeing as much success, but that has obviously changed. And what an incredible way to show off with the final elimination there. Congratulations to Aviv and Skittles.
And I love, too, them being on high ground for so long. A lot of times you're kind of planning for everything, like where do we go? But they kind of built in that perfect spot where wherever the zone was going to go, they were ready to execute. They're like, hey, everyone else is down there living it up, ready for bracing for all the chaos. we're fine. Let's just bring this home.
Yeah, it's not easy to play those high ground sometimes. We did tune in with them at one point, and they were very, very low on materials. Found that refresh. We're able to just keep building throughout the rest of the game. Finish it out clean.
Hats off. Aviv and Skittles making some plays. Let's take a look at our standings, though. We are now halfway through the day, and I'm already starting to go
Oh my gosh.
mad stressful. So with a single game, and again, this is why I say you cannot count out Acorn and Cold. They have just jumped up 6 placements with that performance. And take a look all the way down in that 10th place of Aviv and Skittles. The Victory Royale paired up with those eliminations. Now they're knocking on that top 10, Vivid.
So now between 1st and 7th, 43 points. Did I miss something in that game? Right? I was watching all these POVs, and I didn't even see Duke and Edgy alive.
Yeah,
and
right?
They're up in 1st place again.
I'm absolutely blown away, and honestly, Duke and Edgy, I can't wait to see these highlights because just like you said, I mean, we were watching Miro and Acorn or Cold for so long in their solo clutches, but I mean, look at the loadout that they have already. All going into Zone 9, they're sticking to the mid ground, so they're able to watch the teams that are above them and below them. They have the opportunities for heals, and then of course it's Duke. You know that he's going to be knocking down some top players like we're seeing right now.
And if anything, we're telling them this. Look at this. Edgy's actually down going into this late game, so there was another solo clutch going on while Cold was putting on his, Miro was putting on his, Duke was putting on one of his own. This game was just all about solo clutches.
Remember, this is the duo that came in the #1 spot, right?
Exactly.
They're saying we don't want to give that up.
Oh my gosh.
We have come so close so many times to finally claiming our Axe of Champions, and we will not let this slide. And now they're back in the driver's seat. I am just blown away. NA has really stepped up. But there's more duos to talk about. Acorn and Cold, as we kind of touched on. These are your reigning champions from last season. And now they're saying, look, Duke, Edgy, we get it. We respect it. But we're going to make you work for it.
The story coming into today was that day #1 was all about the race. Acorn and Cold wanted to catch Duke and Edgy, and then we saw a bunch of switch-ups. But now the race is back on, and this performance is just so incredible for me because Acorn actually had the most solo impact points throughout the weekly finals of any player. But now that torch was kind of handed over to Cold during this game, and he took that torch and he ran with it.
Once again, that mid ground is such a huge part for all of these solo players. And I swear, Cold just knows where every single player in the lobby is right now.
Look at
that. He edits it, gets a perfect shot right there, and knows where they're going to be rotating and gets that shot. Absolutely incredible. And he's also able to grab much needed weapons. We saw his loadout a little bit rough at the start, but ending up with the Mythic Munition and then the Havoc shotgun there. Good job.
Just insane. NA. I love it. Let's keep ramping this up. Now, we are going to take a little bit of a step back. We're going to slow things down because we have to interview another shining member of our community. It is none other than Somerset. What's going on?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh my gosh, we're doing so fantastic. I'm trying to contain my excitement because these games are wild. How are you enjoying all the action in NA?
It's been very shocking, the amount it's been fluctuating, but I think it's been great for all the viewers. I think we're all super, super hyped to just see how all this ends.
All right, Somerset. So obviously, we got a battle going on for 1st place today. Coming into the competition overall, did you have a favorite? And has that kind of switched up after you've seen the leaderboard pan out throughout these games so far?
Yeah, I did. I actually thought Acorn and Cold were going to take it again. They're just both, some star players, and they're so consistent. And I'll be honest, I'm still rooting for them. I still believe they can do it. They're still consistent, so they can pull something out.
And we know how important consistency is. And Somerset, you being a top player yourself, I have myself casted over your Women's of the Arena game. What is one of the major factors of being consistent throughout a 12-game series?
Just constantly, I think, having a strategy with playing on your teammate and having such good comms with each other of what's going on at all times. You never know when your teammate might just be able to save you.
Yeah, and you yourself, you were invitational, of course. For these duos that are looking to qualify, make it to globals, what could that be like for them?
I think it's just such a shocking opportunity to even play at a LAN to begin with. And I think kind of reaching that level is almost like one of those big achievements for players like this, and almost something to keep them even more motivated to do even better in the future.
The insight, next level. Somerset, thank you so much. Where can the fans find you?
Twitch, Twitter, Somerset, just everywhere. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Somerset, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We'll catch you later.
All right, thank you.
Man, oh man. All right. We took the slow down. Now we ramp back up. And now I want to watch some more games.
Oh my gosh.
I am already excited. So guess what? It is that time. We are ready to just jump right back into all of the action. Only 3 games remain, and we will know our champions and those top 3 win a global championships. Buckle up. This is game number 10.
I feel like right now we're in the Roman Coliseum with our gladiators fighting it out for any chance at survival. Monster, I just have one question. Are you not entertained?
I am absolutely entertained. I'm having a good old time. Somerset's having a great time, but here we are. We have to really reel things in, pull back the rope chain, the heavy chain, and get on this bus because we have 3 more rounds of exciting Fortnite in front of us. And we know as we start to unravel the layers here, this becomes more and more of a story that I want to watch unfold. Obviously, we have favorites, but we have these new competitors keeping up the pace here, really telling us that anything can happen. You heard Vivid say it best. How did we have 7 teams in the running and 3 games left? It really is a close competition.
I mean, you called it. It was 9 to start the day, but as it goes on, those slip-ups cost you so much, and there goes that off-spawn exchange. Diego plays in Smalls, he's switching it up again, and they meet their same fate. Smallsy goes down, and so does Diego plays. This is what Duke and Edgy need. They did it yesterday, and they're looking like they're doing it again today.
They are just farming these free eliminations, like making it look so easy, beating their opponents to the drop round after round, getting the weapons before them, and literally shutting them down before they can even react. That is the most ideal way to be contested. Thoric and Bolts are having a troublesome day as well here. Yesterday, didn't quite go in their favor. They mixed things up. We've seen them be the most flexible team, literally from racetrack, north side, now down to the eastern south portion. Nothing really working for them here at the Kenjutsu Crossing, unfortunately. And just like that, I mean, you know, the tournament starts to slip away.
Yeah, for some of these teams, you have to be able to hold on strong because it's not necessarily always how you start, it's how you finish, and you've got to stay consistent throughout 12 games when it comes to an FNCS final. So it's interesting to see who is going to pick up the pace in these last and final games, and you're seeing some of our top teams safe as can be. Yamzo and Rise looking like they weren't even necessarily contested this time around. They don't got an elimination, and nobody else is nearby. So for them, this is going to be a great chance to play this one out from start to finish. My only worry is where they're going to get the surge, so not off spawn.
That's right, but for now, we get to be entertained by some early game battles from Yusuf and Curious here at the Lonely Lebs. Little back and forth as we start to see them get situated. I want to bring the conversation to Miro and Cooper for a second, though, and really just give them so much credit being a part of the first teams to break 400 points here after 9 games of competition. It really, truly is impressive.
Especially with some of these zones continuously pulling towards the south, even a little bit towards the west. They're one of the teams that land towards Slappy Shores, contested on the south side. He's going to be Quanti and Peterbot. Newly picked up by Elite Esports as well. One of the few organizations out there that's picking up a full duo. Imagine the possibilities that they're going to be able to achieve throughout content and everything else, especially if they can find a way to make it to that global championship.
That is right. Other fights going down right now. Nalzi here. ZZ currently on the winning side of the position. A little bit of high ground, forcing out the opponents of Moo. Moo goes for the peek. Shots coming from behind, and there's someone eyeing them from the Citadel. Meanwhile, Npen, Polarized, setting up the ambush here on the Kenjutsu Crossing. Remember, they did win the kickoff game here for the second day of Grand Finals. Looks like they have possibly Larson and User in sight.
It's tough. It's tough for Larson and User. They got pushed off of Naughty Nets, and now they're landing in the spot between Mpen and Polarize and Booga and Threats. And you saw them in a couple games ago. Booga and Threats were the ones fighting them. Now you have both Polarize and NPen. Polarize is slowly but surely sneaking up. NPen is, those shots are just a little bit of a distraction, so that way he can hopefully land a monster of a shot and be able to clean it up rather quickly. To jump on board both Acorn and Cole to start the day off. Acorn did go down early on in games number 7 and 8 to start the day, but since then, this team has caught fire and caught fire at the perfect moment.
Cole and Acorn here to put out those fires, though. They're not playing around. They slipped up a few times, big games, and we're talking huge games. Put them right back into the conversation like they never left off.
Ooh.
Surprisingly, though, of course, is that the performances from Dukes and Edgy, who have maintained the same consistency in picking up that track. No one's played perfect. We have not seen anyone play perfect. Everyone having their own moments of greatness and failures, but for Pamstone and Thatch, this might be a big ambush they're setting up here. I'm not sure if they know there's a team there. Oh yeah, they got full eyes on Yuz and Chris. Okay, they know for a fact that's going to be the team they need the tags from.
Yeah, and they know that they have to more than likely rotate in their direction. Doesn't have to beeline it by any means, but they know it's going to be inevitable. They're quickly trying to sneak on. Now Chris spots him out at the tail end. That was a blessing for Chris to be able to spot that one out. Now they have a fighting chance against Pamsto and Fatch, but the decision is still theirs for Pamsto since their back is towards that center of the zone. They can disengage at any moment, and that's why Pamsto is just jumping up and down, eyeing for any bit of information to figure out where can I rotate, where can I reposition, is anything better than where I'm at now?
We call that being timed. Literally, they would have had the opening shots there, but they moved a little too soon. Meanwhile, NPen and Polarize have now closed the gap officially onto Larson and User. This fight has gone from the north side of Kenjutsu down to the south, so seems like Larson and Crew have actually pushed NPen and Polarize, forcing them to be on their heels. And now all of a sudden we found ourselves swinging all the way around the outskirts. Could that be Booga and company on the other side of the water? They do like to look in. There really could be any team there, so this is not a safe fight by any means. A lot of attention here. Polarize gets the first wall, now looks for the retake on the next. Meanwhile, NPen working the outer flank here. Very experienced duo, but NPen lets his guard down. He gets pushed first, User fights back. Both sides trade shots. Polarize tries to come in to protect his duo like you should. That third party's here. NPen and Polarize get the first elimination.
And they get the second, though. Larson not scared or backing down. Even going in, trying to get that piece underneath their control. They were forced to expend a lot of resources very, very early on as Polaroids was using that twin mag to just bleed through the builds as Larson does look like he might try to disengage, but it's Booga and Threats, I believe, yet again on the other side. But it's actually a Bully. Bully and Lizux over towards that bridge where Booga and Threats usually hold their ground. So that's gonna be big.
Big shots happening everywhere. Stories continue to develop. Here's Bacon and Batman Booga.
Oh, no.
Little split in the bush.
Double shot.
Big double shot come out. Surprise, surprise. And death is met with the lobby.
Oh, that's right. I looked at the loot that got dropped down. It was just a rare Havoc, which means the Vault loot hasn't been captured yet by neither Death nor Tahi, which is why you see so many teams trying to fight for it now, and that's Dragon and Elige, where they're usually down on Surge, and how they find it typically is in fights just like this. Maybe not be the best record overall, but they're definitely not scared to back down. They already have 2 eliminations in this game. With the disengage finally coming through because they know that zone this time around is not in their favor.
Yep, time to use these rails, find a better angle, connect, blade their way on out, and get to the new zone. Lees and Dragon have been entertaining all of these mid-game battles consistently, finding success, getting dropped in the mix. It's just a mixing performance for them. Pars and Baka, however, have been very surprising, I think, to the entire North American region. There's a lot of these West players that I think have come through and have really earned their stripes so far.
Yeah, definitely believe that to be true as well. Baka and Pars, even though they had different duos, they participated in that FNCS Invitational. Baka, I think, was one of the highest placing West teams at that time.
Yep.
And he's looking to go back and seek revenge on that international stage, but he has to make it into the top 3 here today. And if you notice, Acorn and Cold have moved up into 2nd place. That means that slot that they would in theory achieve, since they already got it in Major 1, is just going to roll down to that 4th place spot.
Take a look at the standings there on the side to give you that live update right now. Duke and Edgy leading 431 points, or 34 points there. Acorn and Cold in 2nd, Cooper and Marrow 401. Pollo Sphinx up in 4th. Yamzo and Rise holding down 5th. Notice the spread. Not even 40 points separate them. Really showing us that it is an extremely close competition. That's half a game's worth of placements right there. Truly, any big pop-off game, one drop, and all of a sudden you are neck and neck with your competitors, or flat out giving away your spot to another team. With only 3 games of Fortnite left here, Jacob, I mean, it is getting extremely intense.
Just by looking at the mini-map, you could tell the zone this time around, southeast part of the map. So a lot of the players are going to have to go through or even near Mega City. And once again, business as usual for a lot of the teams who already land here. Pollo, the blueprint has been laid out game after game. And on the other side, the players that they're targeting, in theory, would be Epic Whale and Reet. That's something that they do in game after game. And then Jeff and Rapid over on the other side. And now you see that big picture of the zone. That north side, even a little bit towards the west, is going to be so congested. So for the players that are stuck there, timing is going to be crucial of when you rotate.
That's right. Don't want to be stuck out too much. Big pocket of congestion just west of the Mega City starting to pile up there. Pollo and Sphinx, unfortunately, don't have the sights on them just yet. Shots coming in from the team that's across from them. You have to assume this has been a pretty drawn-out fight between the two parties. It is Jeff there. Epic Whale off to the left side. So he's the team, of course, watching that side. That's why we see those ramps over there. Bryson Chubbs, they're coming in from the north side of Slappy. This is Miro and Cooper's home. Are they still here? Doesn't seem like it. Flock and Parse.
Everybody just trying to rotate from the north side. Even scrounge together any loot. Sometimes there's a lack of bricks. Sometimes there's a lack of metal. This is a good spot to get both of those materials as Baka and Pars reuniting. Yet again, they do have that flopper there to try to regenerate some of the health. The med vending machine as well to try to top themselves off as the gas station is getting destroyed, causing some explosive nature over on the other side, but it's not going to really phase neither Baka nor Pars. Everybody that's getting stuck right now here towards Slappy Shores, you saw the zone and what's happening over on that other side. So the longer they stay here, the harder it's going to be to find some comfortability.
And this, they do have the dumpsters as well to yield out some extra loot. Now we jump over to what looks to be a Rift Island, popping up right above Sprite and Giants, who's been struggling here so far, but much appreciative of the extra heals and loot that they get to pick up from here. This is right outside the new zone reveal as well. The zone's starting to pull more and more south.
Duke rotating ahead of the game. This is very, very important loot for them. Having a Maven is not the best for fighting in a lot of these scenarios, especially when it comes towards the end game. You have to be able to hit that monster shot with the Havoc to keep things rolling. We saw Cold do it in that last game. So even though this is only going to be a rare weapons cache, it's still infinitely better than what they have in their loadout currently. So it's definitely worth staying on this side of the map, especially with the zone pulling towards the south. This actually might be a blessing in disguise. The only thing they might have to worry about is Storm Surge itself.
That's right, and look at that. They find metal, they got the brick that they need. They'll be able to build a pretty healthy base there too. This is excellent position for them. Duke and Edgy just putting on great games after great games. And these are the little steps that it takes to set yourself up to stay as consistent as they have been able to be. Aviv, in the meanwhile, finds a few tags, now opens with the kinetic blade to get to that new storm, and that's what you have to do sometimes. Put down the big shots, earn the respect of the opponents, and make sure they close up those boxes so that you can kinetic blade your way on in. And now that team's left thinking twice about peeking. It is going to be Macwood and Commandment, who have been having a pretty difficult day contested as well. Campstone Thatch find themselves a little fight here.
Legion Dragon going down. That's Tahi and Death that get that one. Pamsu and Fats trying to take advantage of some distracted players, trying to re-heal in this scenario. And instead of just trying to bulldoze their way in, they're just stealing away all of that precious loot, trying to use it for themselves as Pars and Baka still stuck deep into the zone. We saw them at least the second time pledge Slappy Shores.
But this is a massive fight. That was against Chubbs and Bryce there. A team inside that top 10. Very, very big fight right there. No conclusion between the two. Both sides are going to go ahead and figure that it's time to get on out. But Landjock is here, healthy as ever. Bright as day. What is going on? Baka catches him with a cone. And he's fighting back.
It's huge, even using the rails to try to break through the builds. Fortunate enough, it's just a little bit too high to cause any bit of destruction. As he's using the med mist, this is exactly what you want to do before you end up in an exchange. And even throwing the med kit so that he can use it later on in the game because the med mist is running a little thin.
That's right, he threw it to his teammate. Pars picks it up. Now they have the whites that they need to go ahead and get on out of here. Pars also drops him a mini. That little bit of team play, the micro details, securing the loot, getting on out. They'll be safe and sound as their tournament run will be able to continue just off of that.
Yep, Duke and Edgy, our first place team. Contested or not, they're playing so well. So I welcome Kelly to the mid-game to give us a blueprint of how they're playing.
Well, Dukes and Edgy saw just how close that lead can be closed in the matter of games, so they're doing whatever they can to solidify their spot in first place. And doing that, they're taking a page out of Bugha and Threat's book, and that's a dead side rotation. Also, with the early eliminations, not having to worry about storm surge tags, as well as the weapons cache, they're going to have a great spot going into the end game.
Great spot indeed, especially with how close the leaderboard is. An end game, and a great one at that, is going to be a must because with 4 points per elimination, plus all of those placement points, we've seen some teams already get 100-point games on the days. So interesting to see how it fares out as Baka actually goes down altogether. You got to imagine, since he didn't get knocked, that Pars probably followed.
That's right, that's team crossed out. Yamza and Rise are going to be the one that reap the benefits of that. And that is going to be a huge leaderboard implication as we have teams that matter falling. Baka and Pars were inside the top 8 coming into this game there. They had a couple elims. They were working their way on up, and now momentum has shut down for Cold and Acorn, though things are still cooking here. The surge has revealed itself, and they are doing just fine. They have seemingly fixed all the issues we've seen out of those early game performances. I can't believe they had such honestly, a bad game 1 and 2, and then still pushed their way up in just a single game's performance to put themselves on where they are right now. Let's take a look at Miro and Cooper. Big games here for Miro and Cooper.
Almost seemingly never having to worry about Surge, but that's because they're off spawn. There's so many heals where they actually land. They can go ahead and consolidate a lot of those heals, build that tower in the sky, and just try to trade Surge all around the map against other teams because they can regenerate it and still have heals left to rotate away from their POI, which is why they're looking so healthy at this stage in the game. Rise and Yamzo disengaged. The zone is opening up. So all these teams want to get that height point on the map. It's not only on the top of the hill, but it's built a few layers higher than that.
Bryce and Chubbs are having a really tough time right now. They have now faced off against 3 different top 10 teams in the same game. Every single duo they've managed to come across because of this dead side rotate has been a duo that has been putting up the numbers here for day 2. On one takes down Pamstu in a crazy exchange. And already we're seeing, again, teams that matter fight against one another, exchanging blows everywhere.
You got to be careful here because even though, in theory, where they're at is the slower side of the zone, because of the natural elevations, if you go too far down, it might be tough to get back on up as the zone continues to pull down. There's the water, there's the islands over on the other side. So it's going to be interesting to see where this zone ends up, and planning ahead is going to be important for some of these teams as Bryce can't even do just that because he's here in the now fighting for Storm Surge.
One of the issues with moving on feet, you're watching it right here. They find themselves, yes, on the dead side, but they know they are very well below the surge. Luckily, it is going to ease off and stop for now, but they know for a fact right now they will have to fight come the next zone. They will likely be putting themselves in a position to take a battle. As we jump in with Fat, who's lost Pamsu. Still fighting back, though. Catches Rapid with a quick shot showing him just who's faster here. So he now secures all the loot. This is going to be excellent for him to try to play this one out as a solo. He does have a kinetic blade as well, so absolutely perfect.
And Jeff goes down shortly after to Knifer, so the whole roster of Rapid and Jeff go down before placement points begin to set in. It's going to be at the top 25, where at least you get something for your efforts if you weren't able to pick up Illumination at this stage in the game. And the feed shows it. Batman, Booga, and Bacon, their run in Game 10 has come to an end as well. And I like this rotation coming out from Fatch. Even though he is a solo, he's not going down the mountain just yet. He knows there's so many teams that are going to try to beat him to the punch, and that's why this timing here is absolutely perfect. He beats a few teams there, and he uses the teams that are already there as a distraction.
Also connects himself to the base down low as well, so Fatch is in a great spot right now. Here on the edge of the zone, though, Rise and the Amso, keeping a low profile. They don't need to fight anyone. There's nothing for them to worry about right now.
I don't know where Trashy and Pump found that gas cannon, but a little bit of a cheeky move trying to destroy the builds. And you can see the ramps going out on the other side of their covers. Just trying to build another layer of protection. That way, if they become a target of that team, they're at least going to get some sort of audio cues of them trying to break the builds. That's the Amzo and Rise on the other side. Flare Gun is out. Cold is weak. Acorn nowhere in sight. He's a little bit separated, but at the very minimum, at least he's still in the game. But whether or not, you can count on Cold to pick up a huge amount of points as a solo. 56 at that, in that last game alone.
That's right, he had that big game. He didn't even need Cold. Cold actually fell that game with 0 elims in game number 9. The last game he fell with 0 elims. Cold ended up picking up the pieces and doing the rest of the work. This zone, though, is going to be a tough one for them to move on. It's hard south. It's going off the elevation and then back up. So you're going to have to pause here, wait for your kinetic blade to recharge, and then make a move. But this is going to allow everyone to do the same thing. They're going to be landing right on top of you. It's going to be even harder to start making the move. Those that don't have the blade are going to start building above you, and the airspace will be congested here shortly. Here he goes.
See them focusing on the rotation. Even though they need a refresh, they need the materials, they're just focusing on getting from point A to point B, getting ahead of everybody else, and then looking behind the zone, trying to catch somebody off guard. They look down in the water, see a few teams there. They spot out Bryce. Slow to react. He takes a huge amount of damage, but at the very least, he is still alive with a chance to make it up for it. With Quanti and Peterbot, they find a little nest over on the side of the mountain as well. So many teams finding any bit of positioning to work with.
They're just a couple tags away, but look at this on high ground. Sprite and Giants are finally looking for their moment in the tournament. They were one of the worst performing teams on day 1, day 2. A much better day overall, as they've stopped contesting and head clashing with Kanata and Ager, showing us what they are capable of when they just go ahead and ease up. Those 2 elims are actually from Bucky and Okus from this game. They took them out in the early game.
Not getting caught off guard. That's the blessing of day 1 to day 2, and we saw this in EU with Vidil taking himself out. Yeah, luckily for Edgy, he does have some HP already on him with the Slurp Juice popped. He's going to get right back on up, tip-top shape. Batch trying to do the same thing, but he's by himself. Couple of builds to work with. He's just trying to hold on to his covers because he knows he's going to be a target eventually, especially since they do know he's a solo, but quickly maneuvers and gets on out and even goes up a few layers to get away from those players that were trying to chase him down.
He's playing very, very well. In the feed, I'm seeing Miro and Cooper continue to find elims too. Do not be surprised if they are up in first after this one. They have 2 right now. They're still up. They're looking healthy. They have the refreshes that they need, and they're fighting their way through Acorn and Cold, who are on the other side of the wall. It is an opportunity here to overthrow those that stand before you. But Cold wants another piece of Kanata there. He's going to go and finish things off. Aegis is hurt, potentially on the other side. Sphinx and Borio still alive as well, and they rack up another elim too. That's going to be the finisher onto Aegis. Cold, once again, is not left by himself.
And for some reason, I don't feel worried at all. Cold has done this before. He can do it again as he breaks and goes right back through his builds. He hears a couple players on the other side as the flare gun still popping off. All this information being dished around, and Cold is getting absolutely none of it as he uses his last build. Kinetic Blaze trying to get to the front side of the zone. Finds somebody slipping. That's a Vive. He almost goes back-to-back, taking out Skittles as well. But Cold's run in this game has come to an end.
I mean, the kid is crazy. You're watching just a master at work. And another master is Fatch, of course, who has to put Pamstool in the backpack for now as Pam is down and out. 3 zones ago, Fatch was left by himself. He is still standing. Name another duo that can do just that. I'll wait. But here we go. Fatch tries to make a move here. Pressure's on him. He will also have to force a fight here shortly. Now down to the last box. Just a couple builds remain.
High ground right now, going both the Bully and Lizux before they're having to give it up. Don't want to spend too many maps to try to hold on to it. Cooper's trying to find anything to work with. Fatch that you're talking about got gifted a little bit of loot. Anything is better than nothing, but he got 4 more builds. All of them are metal, so it's definitely enough to shield as he takes a big tag, trying to get down below. He has a men miss, he has some minis, anything to get himself some HP and shield to work with. But on the other side, that's Nyx. That's a threat to his game, and he needs to be careful. Wow. But as he does that, he takes down Nyx altogether.
What a shot right there, and still there's no time to wait. He wants to pause, he wants to heal, but he just can't. The pressure continues. The refresh, though, was enough, and finally now, although he is looted and booted, he has to go ahead and go for it, but no, he gets finished off there. It's now up to Cooper, who's another solo as well. He's had a story in himself as well. He drops Rise, and Iamzo is now a solo in this game here, too. This is just so chaotic as the elevation has changed.
He found a crevice of opening to go ahead and work through as Duke, Edgy. I believe they both go down. Into the top 3 we go. DeQuinted and Sinetto, they got 6 eliminations contested almost game after game against Bolt and Thor, coming out on top. That has been the start. Bully has been escaping everybody as the lone solo on the high ground. Then you have Trashy and Pump on the low.
But they're so hurt. Can we even count this as a duo? I mean, they're barely worth a person right now. Such a tough spot to be in. Bully just waits, and he finds one. Sinetto delivers himself the whole siphon and a little bit more. Bully has only one way to come down. That's with the Kinetic Blade, and on into the fray he goes, but he can't even find DeQuinted. DeQuinted slides on out of there. The information given from Sinetto was enough for DeQuinted to escape, and what a game that was.
Yeah, what a game indeed. Congratulations one more time. A huge victory royale to kind of end the halftime and start the new on the day. And that is going to show that the leaderboards, honestly, should still be close, other than maybe Duke and Edgy.
That is right. I mean, listen, we saw Iamzo in Rise there. We saw Boyo in Sphinx. I mean, everyone else was holding on as a solo, and you saw what's happening there. But let's just take a look. Let's watch it from DeQuinted's side. So he found Pump. He clearly laid the additional tags down, and then, and only then, he was like, oh, I gotta get out of here. I don't want any more static. We get the winning reaction as well. He's feeling good. What a highlight for Sinetto.
Yeah, and for them, you saw that last moment. As soon as they got the elimination, as soon as he realized the splashes in the scenario that you're in, he just immediately got out of there with the Kinetic Blade. It wasn't the long heal-off that we had to start the season, but he knew he had that one in the bag.
Well, we are officially past the halfway mark. Game 10 is wraps. We got to start gearing up for games 11 and 12.
Man, yet another game full of chaos here in the North America FNCS Grand Finals. Very quickly, a big warm welcome to Jenny Smiles, who'll be hanging out with us for the last few set of games. But for Sinetto DeQuinted, they find themselves the victory round. I love that James kind of called it out. At that moment, you're kind of like, I have everything I need. I don't need to engage this fight. Let's just dip back. I got the heal off ready.
Yeah, the classic thing we've, saw early on in the season. If you have those heals, you just Kinetic Blade off in the zone. Make sure that whoever is left alive can't really aggress you in any way, shape, or form. Make sure he stays alive. Make sure he uses the heals. Very well played.
You know, in these situations, you can't always know for sure and for certain what another player has, and so you just have to take care of yourself. Getting out of there and finding the resources that you need to stay alive, put them in a position for a victory, so they did great.
Yeah, exactly. Just separate yourself. Maybe they have the heals, maybe not. They're scrambling, right?
Exactly.
But as long as you take care of yourself, you'll come out on top, just like these guys right here. Now, there was much that unfolded in this last game. So obviously, we have to kind of take it to the standings.
Oh my gosh.
I think my favorite moment of that game was the Iamzo and Rise. They went into that game in that 5th place spot, and they said, Edgy, we're done. we're going to take the fight to you. We're going to eliminate you. No more points.
Yeah, but as we go ahead and check it out, I'm pretty sure Duke and Edgy will still be in that top spot. And yes, they are 490 points, but still, the chase is on for sure. Not a lot of breathing room at all. But look at this. I mean, 40 eliminations, the second most that I see up there. You know, second to only Iamzo and Rise. They've been playing so well, though. Duke and Edgy, so consistent. 330 placement points. It's just a testament to how many of these end games they actually have been making it to.
You know, I love that you pointed out the consistency because that is so important with this duo. Because also going into these situations, you have to be so overly prepared for anything that happens. You know, it could be accidentally taking unfortunate damage, but you know what? They made it back on top and still were just so overly aware of everybody around them. I loved the way they played these out, Vivid.
That Duke right there, that double elimination that he got off of that side jump, that is not an easy shot to get. And then followed up by hitting the mantle. So aware of all the mechanics that are in the game. That's why they're in first place.
And I feel like this very well could be the winning run. They just need to hold on, right? They just need, I mean, there's only 2 games left. They just have to do what they've been doing. I know, no cast or curse. Let's hope not.
They've shown it. They can do it so far from these games. I really believe that they can make it happen. There's like a couple more games left.
Yeah, there's only 2. But let's talk about Cooper and Miro. We see them jump up, and now they are looking to even try and contest them. They're not that far behind Edgy and Duke in first place, but they are looking to really step things up in the last 2 games.
Before these last 2 games, I was actually looking at this duo, and I was like, you know what? I like the way that they are playing the most, but after these last couple games from Duke and Edgy with those pop-off performances, now I like the way that Duke and Edgy are performing. But at the end of the day, I mean, a 17-point difference between Cooper and Miro and Duke and Edgy going into the last 2 games. We're on for a race. And shout out to Cooper for kind of keeping them in that race because this was a solo clutch. We saw last game, Miro was the one putting up the solo impact points, showing off right here, though, that they can both put up those types of performances.
Yeah, and honestly, as a solo, it is so difficult, but we've seen them overcoming these challenges. And also, he was kind of playing those mid layers, which is a very difficult and challenging place to be. You have your height, you have low ground, and they played it out perfectly.
Yeah, and Acorn and Cold, we finally see them coming back online, especially after the last few games. They're quickly ramping up. But now I have to ask the question, can they make it?
They got 433 points. First place has 490, so a bit of a way to go. They're going to have to pop off in the last 2 games. They did pretty okay this game, again, keeping themselves in contention. But still, I mean, yeah, we haven't really seen the thing that we are used to seeing from this duo at all today. I feel like, you know, usually they love to claim the front side, the low ground of these moving zones, and I really feel like we just haven't seen them there at all because they're struggling to actually get through some of these moving zones as a duo, relying completely last game on Cold's clutch as well, solo clutch that is as well.
Yeah, but one thing I do want to point out is they're taking care of Storm Surge. It's not a worry for them, which is so impactful. So really, they just have that taken care of. They have to just focus on how they can get to the front side of zones. And honestly, they kind of need to pick. Do you want to do low ground? Do we want to take height? Because in some of the previous games, they took height and they did perform really well. So maybe we'll see them try to do that in these next games.
I do like that we kind of talk about that, right? Because we're kind of questioning what's going on in the end game. But to your point, their Storm Surge is on lock. So we have to take a kind of a little peek here and break down what they are doing well and successfully, especially when it's happening in Mega City of all places. Talk me through it.
Yeah, I mean, Mega City is actually a hotspot on the map that we see a lot of teams like to base up around. And it's because it's like the center of the map where a lot of teams like to base themselves around. And I mean, as you can see here, Cold is phenomenal when it comes to the aim. That red eye is so lethal in his hands. But these types of tags, these types of positions on the map are why they are so good, have been so consistent throughout the season. And we usually see them in the end game because of stuff like that.
Yeah, and getting the extra loot there. The way that he was using that red eye, but you pointed it out, he was like almost, it looked like he was seeing through trees. I was like, how are you getting these angles? Like so good.
Now, of course, guys, we only have 2 games left to go, and I look at the top 3. Iamzo and Rise currently holding down that spot, but we still have 2 games left to go. If Iamzo and Rise keep up what they're doing, they could be a lock-in for one of those top 3 spots and ultimately Global's spots as well. How do they hang on?
Iamzo his socials. He's worried about some of the contention going on around his drop. Have to see if they can hold on to their loot.
Yeah, they do have a lot. They're very capable. They have a lot of power and they have a lot of energy going into this. I think that they can make it happen.
All right, well, let's see. It is that time once again with 2 games left. How will this conclude? Let's find out together. This is Game 11.
The make or break moment is upon us. Arguably one of the most important games is going to happen in just a few moments. This is game number 11, the time where our competitors will start to gear up and we will start to figure out who is truly in the race for top 3.
Yeah, in a race that has been this close throughout the next 2 days, it's going to be huge to see how it ends. And you called this game number 11 an important game because where you finish on this leaderboard after the game means so much if you simply want to take that top spot. For Cooper and Miro, it's about holding on, keeping it close. And for Duke and Edgy, it's about extending that lead as far as possible. So that way, you can have a smooth sailing game number 12.
That's right. Acorn and Cold have fallen from grace. Duke and Edgy are now 60 points ahead of our favorites, really giving us a story to be had here in this game 11 before we start approaching the final round. Miro, though, out of nowhere, has really started to climb way up. Duke and Edgy, though, wait a second. If there is a game to drop, it can't be this one. You have done so well so far to stay consistent. And finally, Diego Plays is having a chance here to fight back. But wait a second. He leaves himself exposed to Edgy for a moment there. But was it just bait? We'll find out. Edgy finds the full rip there, but it wasn't the knock that he was looking for.
Nah, not the magic word. Diego Plays just fires back, but with a combat shotgun right there from Duke. And the wherewithal to use the combat where most people would use the Havoc and Monster. What are you seeing?
I don't think it's over. I'm looking at Steamy right now. I'm looking at Bully. I'm looking at Lizux. They're starting to creep up. They saw the knock. They're thinking to themselves, wait, do we just let them stay this far ahead of all the competition? I don't think so. And they're trying to see if they can set up the ambush right now. The bushes are going to come broken through. Duke might regret that later as he has effectively removed one additional piece of cover. But although Bully's eyeing them, he does not take the shot. Hesitation settles in, and he might have just missed the chance to play upset.
Yep, they started 17 points ahead of second place, and thanks to those 2 eliminations, they've already extended it to 25. And you talked about this team and their fall from grace, Cold and Acorn. To start it off, they were one of the horses that had a chance to win the Derby overall, but they've slipped up, and that's all it takes at a competition that is this close throughout 12 games. So that only means one thing, and that's in order to make up that 60 points, they either need their top competitors to go down, which Duke and Edgy almost did, but they saved the day, or they need a big elimination victory royale like they've already achieved or close by in 2 different times throughout the weekend.
They really will have to win this game right now in order to go ahead and close that gap. Otherwise, they need a poor performance from Coop, Miro, Duke, and Edgy. Very, very tough thing to ask when you see how easy Coop and Miro have it here. Yes, they have players on the other side, but this is one of those unwritten, unspoken agreements. Hey, listen, I'm not going to grief my game unless you step past that boundary. And we've seen them take down Nyx and company before, so it's not all fun and games over there. Meanwhile, Sphinx and Polo are having a fight for theirs. They have now officially mixed it up. They said, forget the south buildings. We want that vault loot. They're stepping closer on to the toes of Epic Whale and Reek. And I think they're feeling pretty confident because they've just been the better team over the last course of 2 days. I mean, the numbers do speak for themselves here.
And it got that much easier. Reek was dropped early on by Moo, who was then dropped by Epic Whale. So 2 teams towards Mega City stuck as solos, which opens the door for that vault loot for either Jeff and Rapid as well. You can see them moving on over towards Mega City, and let's see how some of these exchanges started off. Even though Reek's already down, Epic Whale is not scared, is backed up against the wall. He knew he had to do something, and that was where he took down Moo.
That makes sense why Sphinx and crew tried to slide in after that. They saw the static, they saw the elims, they saw the trades. They tried to take advantage. The time was just a little slow for Iamzo and Rise. They already have themselves 2 eliminations. They're looking good. They've made it past a difficult part of the game, which is arguably the drop spot. It really has been very, very tough for most here. And for now, Iamzo and Rise are in the conversation here as the only duo where both of the players on the team have been equally pulling their weight in the form of the eliminations. They have 20 plus. They've almost split the bulk of the work between the two, averaging overall so far 47 elims as a duo and a victory royale. Very, very much leading the competition here in full.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very pivotal. Kind of keep that consistency and momentum up. It's Pamsu and Fats. I like how this team, depending on where the bus path goes, depending on where the zone actually pulls, they switch up their actual strategy. They sometimes go towards the southwest to sneak up on a team. They sometimes go straight to the east to sneak up on a team. So I'm interested to see what's going to play out here as the zone does pull almost all the way towards the east with a little bit of a southern lean on it.
Yeah, last game we found them in the bush in the early game, just sitting around trying to really make a play, and the timing was a little off, but in the end, Fats still made a ridiculous run to the end game there, picking himself a great top 10 performance, keeping him in the conversation, fighting his way up to top 5, where we now see him. For Chubbs and Bryce, it's been very, very difficult the last couple of games. Last game in particular, if you are just tuning in, they faced off against several top 10 duos. Almost every single clash they had was against teams that are performing better, if not equal to them on the day. Very, very difficult task in front of them. And now we get a look at Booga and Threats.
To start this game off, they are at 399 points in 7th place. Even if it might be hard in these next 2 games to get that first place overall, even though they're still in contention, top 3, let's all remind, top 3 goes to that global championship at the end of the year. So if it's not the money, it's that global championship that a lot of these teams are fighting for. And it's going to be huge. And already in this game, we've seen the team that they're looking at over towards Kenjutsu Crossing, Polarized and N-Pen. They were able to sneak away in elimination to help their Surge game very, very early on. As Miro, you can see them over on the other side. This is what I'm talking about. With the amount of extra heals over here towards Slappy Shores, typically you do have 2 teams just kind of trading off those shots in terms of Storm Surge, knowing that they do have the heals in the either bottom of the tower to kind of get themselves back up to tip-top shape.
And also, we can't stress the fact enough that this is the most stacked and difficult FNCS we've seen for the North American region, as we have just approached and gotten into this new territory of the merger, the combination of the regions here in North America. And now we have this entire competition taking place, of course, on those central servers. It's a big deal. What you're looking at so far as the competition is nothing short of a very, very tough 2 days of competition. Whoever walks away inside the top 3, whoever walks away as the champion, is going to be feeling very, very good, as they've fought well and hard for it.
And $150,000 going to the winning team, the Axe of Champions. And if you're not Acorn and Cold, Global Championship, because they already booked their ticket there, as Elige in the feed goes down to Tahi, a fight that happens more frequently over towards Shattered Slabs. Fighting for that bot loot is going to be important. Yamzo and Rise pushed their opponents off of their landing spot. That was Nick and Nyx, and they're that team that is now towards the north side of Slappy Shores. So throughout these 2 days of competition, we've seen so many teams adjust, whether if it's their game plan, their drop spot, how they approach certain situations. That flexibility is actually a must in some scenarios.
That's right. Yamzo was eyeing up Miro and Coop there, didn't quite find an opportunity to take advantage of them revealing themselves, and just like that, he's out of there. No need to stick around for too long here. Leaderboard continues to keep us up to date here. Your top 5 right there for North America's game 11 of 12. After this, we will start crossing our way to the finish line. It's going to be intense. Don't go anywhere. In fact, tune in, maybe call a friend, because it's only going to get better from here. Pollo and Sphinx. Oh, okay. Shows you what happens if you reveal yourself.
He thought he was at the highest point. Well, he just got checked.
We've seen him do this earlier, though. Remember, he was by himself. He literally got eliminated for doing that same thing. Accidentally over-peaking the ramp.
That's something that some of our competitors, they just get overzealous, trying to trade off, find that surge. end up in a bloom battle that doesn't necessarily favor them. You can see Epic Whale on one side. I'd imagine teammate on the other as TK and Ritual take down both Bolt and Thoric, who have honestly just kind of been landing around the world, from racetrack to the contested gas station above Kenjutsu Crossing, now rotating on over towards Naughty Nets. They're just trying to scrounge together any sort of start so they can build some momentum. Even though Bolt and Thoric did do a good amount of damage onto TK, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, Bolt and Thoric fall to the hands of TK and Ritual, which means TK and Ritual are officially fighting their way into the top 10. That's going to be what's on the line for them. For Pamso and Fatch, of course, we already know the trip to the Global Championship, the chance to wield that Axe of Champions. Pamso and Fatch just seasons ago came within a point difference of being our FNCS champions. It can happen. We already know, judging by that performance, that they are just about as good as any on the region. The title, of course, is the bragging rights, but the performance all in all tells us they are one of the best.
Yeah, consistent top placings. And when you're talking about that one point where they almost got that FNCS champion, they barely even qualified for that FNCS through Surge Week. They scraped together. Right. It was a team above them that won that final game, that pushed them in to that consistency qualification. It just goes to show that, honestly, in the first 3 weeks, in Surge Week, it's not necessarily about taking that top spot. It's about giving yourself a chance. And when the FNCS rolls around the finals, that's when it's all on the line, forced to perform. As Baka, I like this. He doesn't want to give too much information away to his opponents. He knows he still wants to try to get Pars back into the game. For that, he's just trying to get some surge on the tail end, knowing that he has to backtrack. That's going to be a lot of time wasted that he can't get those tags.
A couple important tags there, but on one. Very, very scary duo to have holding you out inside the zone for Duke and Edgy. They're going to go and look to disengage right here. Zero rotates left inside the kinetic blade halfway through the mini, so this was a bit of a drawn-out fight here between the two parts.
And this zone is forcing so many teams, including Duke and Edgy, to rotate towards the east.
That map knowledge.
Yeah, they don't have heals on them, so they found this fire pit to try to get themselves up. They have the wood in their inventory, so they're going to continue to stoke the flame until they have enough HP where they feel comfortable to rotate. As Rift Island appears, TK and Rituals from Naughty Nets are going to be the first team to try to claim that Rift Island.
They will be able to do just that. Again, they were 19 TK and Rituals. 3 elims in now. You have to assume they're almost pushing onto that top 15 spot or so. One big game, and they'll be inside that top 10. That's big money.
That's what I'm saying. Even though we're talking about 150,000, top 3 going to globals, each and every placement on the way down, there's still hundreds of thousands of dollars up for grabs. And there's another chance.
Cold is down.
FNCS Major 3 along
Cold
the way. And yeah, Braid's taken down Cold, but it was just a knock, which means Acorn is still in this game.
That is right. We're going to have to get a little update on that developing situation. Chubbs and Bryce right now are just trying to make a rotate here. Let's go ahead and watch this replay, though. Get us the full scenario here. So Cold was caught rotating there, and just this timing to Kinetic Blade double opened up on, and just like that.
It's going to be hard for Acorn, honestly.
This is tough.
For him to get Cold back into the game, he's going to have to hope from this zone to the next that there is a far pull away from Mega City, and then he's going to have to be one of the last teams there to try to get Cold back into the game. But just 58 points separates first and fifth, making NA the closest region through 10 games in Major 2. And I'm excited for that.
Look at this. Cold says, all right, you want to push in? I'm going into the storm. In fact, I'm going to go way outside to go play for the res here. I like this play, but he has to be extremely careful. He even stops to fire back. Remember, without a teammate, he needs those storm surge tags as well for later. So these are all plays that are going to start to add up. Oh, no. Unfortunately, chipped right there. He won't be hunted, but he will be hurt. It's going to waste much-needed time. Those chug splashes. He doesn't want to overheal here. He will have to wait until he gets his teammate. And there it is. He will be able to pick him up. What a save here for Cold. My gosh.
I was thinking losing the shields was fine. Getting tagged up like that. He has the shield cake. It's not going to take long before he gets back to 100. It's the HP loss that actually means more to Acorn here in this situation. It does look like he is going to get called back into the game, and honestly, that's a must in almost every situation.
Oh, the shots
amount of impact that Cold has on this lobby, whether a solo or not, is just so immense. Even though Acorn is the brains of the operation, they're the perfect mixture of brains and bronze.
Yep, but here's the thing. Acorn does have the movement. Cold does not now, as they've lost their kinetic blade, so maybe it would have made more sense to bring that kinetic blade with you, but we'll find out. They end up regretting that play right there. Duke and Edgy move on into the naughty nets here. They're trying to find themselves a little situation to possibly farm back their material, but first you have to scout the area, make sure the coast is clear. And look at this, they play extremely passively, put those extra walls down just in case there's anyone lurking around, and here goes the play. So Acorn farming back up his material. Obviously, he's already split some of those mats with Cold there.
The blessing of this situation is this isn't too far away from their actual landing spot, so they know a lot of the loot that they did leave behind earlier on in the game. But since Acorn had to use all that time to go to the backside of zone and get that reboot off, they lost out on a lot of time to get that Storm Surge tags. But a team that doesn't need it, Poyo and Sphinx from the top of Mega City, 600 damage above the threshold. They're just trying to use that scavenged loot to go ahead and get that HP and shield back up before they continue on with their rotation, because they know when they finally get towards that edge of zone, it is going to be tough. It's going to be congested.
Bryce tries to make a move. He's lost Chubbs already as well. Great little parkour trick there to heal while on the fly, not losing momentum. Couple heals here off to the left there. Another med kit. Cease, meanwhile, is in a fight with Curious and Tragics there, of course, to back him up. What is happening here? Bryce is just in a world of trouble. There is way too many teams a little too comfortable right now in the storm here. This is what we talked about. This is what the Kinetic Blade has done to the lobby. It really has made players play so differently.
Oh, Bryce underneath the shot.
Oh, no. Shots from behind. The door is open. The Storm Surge is on. This is just trouble here.
Just one of those things. When you're so down on Surge like that, you have no control over your game. You got to go find the first person you see, beeline straight to him, and try to get some damage. Acorn doing a good job getting back into the game. Wow. Medkit's going to be used. And honestly, even though when they finally get to the zone, it is going to be congested, but as the zone begins to move in 15 seconds, they can immediately return back inside of Mega City and try to get themselves a spot to where they know no one's going to be at.
Well, I was wondering how he was going to get back or if he was going to go play for that Kinetic Blade. Of course he was. I don't even know why I asked. They said, no, we're going right back to that loot monster. I got this. Give me a second. And here they are, back like they never left. Of course, they were right on that line for being safe above the surge, and they still have managed to battle that problem. And look, already Acorn putting those tags down. That knock was just a fluke. They're showing you that they are here and willing to fight for this championship.
They know he's a solo on the bottom.
Oh, my God.
And they know they got the tags on him.
God.
Making it look easy. Shield getting drained. Just a sliver of HP. They push themselves into the box, and that's loot that they need. Remember, Acorn had to reboot Cold back into the game. But since they took that time to drop down low, the free location that they once had moments ago, going on over to so many other teams as Cooper and Miro are trying to fight tooth and nail to try to stay alive. Another team is trying to push their way into the box. They got to be down on Surge while they're well above. This is just the nature of the game, no matter where you're positioned when it comes to Storm Surge. But a nice side shot from Miro is going to distract them just long enough. Cooper is going to go down, and Miro knows this one. He has to go ahead and disengage. He can't be the hero in this situation if he wants to hold on to his second place spot.
Yeah, they are in second place. So second place is now fractured here. No Cooper, and unlike Acorn and Cold, there is no time to play for the save. Let alone go for the reboot card, but Nero's gonna go for it anyways. He says, hey man, I'm just gonna go on and stop right here. Give me a second. And no, they're sitting right on top of that loop pile. Miro, don't push your luck, buddy. Yep, there it is. He realizes it's time to go. That's tough.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, because if he was going to get that reboot back, it was literally now or never. Then you can try to Kinetic Blade on over to Mega City and try to make it happen there. But since it's taken a ton of time, I think that chance is going to go outside of the window. as finally a lot of these teams that were once positioned in Mega City have to rotate on out. And if you're one of the teams that actually had a building in Mega City, this rotation will be easier than some because we're going up that natural mountain where a lot of these teams, if you don't have builds, it's going to be a treacherous journey.
That's right, but the Kinetic Blade can absolutely cancel that. Pollo and Sphinx are one of the few that have it at the moment. And look at the move. Oh, the shots come in.
No.
Low shots come in from up above as well. And just absolute punishment. Well, listen, we already know Sphinx doesn't have whites. This is why he's so lit up. Pollo now has officially lost his lead. This is our 4th place team here. They absolutely need this Siphon. Can they steal away a tag here? That would be huge for them. Surge could potentially become an issue. I think that's a looming problem, but a Siphon right now. An elimination here for White Heels would be the best thing possible. Thatch is still alive there on the side. Acorn and Cold here as well. This is a pocket of crazy players. Acorn and Cold actually pushing their way on up too. Testing their luck against these big duos here. Little do they know, it is the top 5. They are the other best.
If you just turned on the stream right now and you see Cold, maybe not now with 59 HP, you would have never guessed he got knocked and taken out of the game once before. But that just goes to show the testament of Acorn. A lot of people kind of give him slack because he's playing with somebody as skilled as Cold, but this guy does so much for that duo. It is absolutely insane as Duke and Edgy, even with that off-spawn win against Smallzy and Diego plays, they find themselves below the damage threshold. They need to find it now because going down here in Game 11 is not where you want to be. We lose Duke. Now it's all up to Edgy with Storm Surge still doing so much damage. That's Crispin Yuz towards the low ground, trying to break him down, but he's going to take that challenge and run with it. A huge shot's going to be fired, but he's still 17 below the threshold and continuously falling.
One more mini, that's it. Clock is ticking now. He needs a tag, misses the most important one of the day, and that possibly could cost them the lead here. We'll find out shortly as they start to move in. 25 health was taken.
No.
Another tag there too. No one given the elimination credit, but he is down and out. Right before top 25, right before the big placements, Acorn's gone too. It's all up to Cold once again here. Cold pushes onto Lizix, boxes him up, finds the 1-2, puts him down, and he is right back into it. Putting the game on his back, putting the points into his pocket.
I can't believe the sacrifice right now that Acorn made just to get Cold back. 3 eliminations, that's huge because now they got that 12 points and you got to think Duke and Edgy, they only had 2 eliminations. They went down before the placement points set in, so they started at 490 and with 4 points per elimination, quick math says they have 498 points. That is nothing if Miro is still alive picking up these points as a solo.
Sphinx and Pollo, 4th place out, 1st place Duke and Edgy's out. Baka Pars, Bryson Chobbs, that's 8, 9, 10, and 11 on the ropes. The chances now, the time is here. We have a lot of teams still able to put up a new top 3 for us. Epic Whale still in this game here, looking to play upset of even Skittles once again on high ground, trying to find their way back inside of this competition somehow.
Does have that flint knock pistol. Try to push himself up. His teammate does go down just as we jump on board. Yamso and Rise, we're trying to get ahead of all these teams. They're one of the ones that could take that 1st place with a well-placed game here, an even better one in game number 12. Yamso with a little flash and drive, go ahead and hit some shots with that mythic tactical pistol to try to keep them above the damage threshold.
Cold is down.
Continuously looking for more. You said it yourself. Acorn and Cold run has come to an end.
They did not be able or could not take advantage of the opportunity. Now Booga and Threats have the high ground. Booga and Threats are back in this conversation. They came into this in top 7. They don't have any elims. What separates them from the rest is the fact that they are now earning placement points to scratch that. Finally, the points start to add up. Make it 2 elims. They're giving us the show right now from height, and we have seen every team on high ground effectively uncontested throughout the day. For now, though, look at this, Jacob. Rise and Yamso are still in this too.
Looked like he just coned his opponent into the box to give himself a free rotation as they move to the low side of the zone. Legendary Slurp Juice means Rise is going to regenerate that shield and HP in the blink of an eye. Into the top 17 we go, but this zone is continuously pulling up and down all around these different elevations. But Bugha and Threads, they're going and connecting to that Rift Island. This is an ingenious play. Will it pay off? Only time will tell.
Pamso and Thatcher also trying to close that gap. They will be up there inside the top 5 conversation. We are going to have a race for a finish here for the last game when this one concludes. Pamso jumps in the box, loses teammate. He needs to clutch up. It's worth so much, and he does it. It's placement points. It's more than that too. And the flick shot. And Pam is still going here.
Trying to keep everything intact for him, but they run out of resource, running out of time, and they go back to the lobby on that one. That's Rise who picks up another knock. Him and Ianto trying to take first place back, which they had at one stage on the day. Staggering himself out. One splash less. Time is running out. Rise now needs to beeline into the zone. He's taking so much damage in the storm. He fires off a huge shot, but opportunity running out the window, and Rise goes down.
He's finished. Bugha and Threats now have it on easy street here. Plenty of placement points and a win waiting for them to be picked up here. But they do have a little bit of material to work with. It's going to be very patient from here on out for them. Otherwise, we see trouble. Trashy is up. He finds his way into the storm there. Win condition revealed to him. That's a slurp juice. TK, nothing to work with. No heals. Kinetic blade in hand. Does he challenge height? Does he take a fight from the side? We'll find out.
Bugha and Threats are actually the only duo left in this lobby. Everybody else here is solos. Flare gun going out from Epic Will, and a bang shot to take out TK. Somebody clip that, because I need to re-see it, as now his next target is in sight. That's going to be Trashy, and he gets the one pump again, but he has two big opponents, Threats and Bugha, who are trying to fight for the high ground, but against the Mythic, one-shot potential. Epic Will has already done that 2 different times on the day. He takes down Threats, but goes down to the zone before the Siphon can tick in. Bugha and Threats take the game.
Man, oh my, Epic Whale is showing us why he is one of the best to ever do it. But in the end, Bugha and Threats are also the greatest on the space as well here. North America is really starting to fire up right now. Jacob, what a game that was.
What a game indeed. I just gotta add, was that the first flare gun elimination? Are we playing trick shots here? He banked it off the wall, but unfortunately, even though he did get the one pump on the Threats, Bugha with the high ground and the pressure from zone after zone, they take the game overall, and they started that one in 7th place.
I know this is a winning package, but I would not have been upset to see the flare gun elimination thrown in there. Take a look from Bugha's perspective. The box fight was going down. Epic Whale put up a great one, but Threats and Bugha come out on top for game number 11 here at the grand final. And now we just have one more.
This is the final countdown, the last go around, and with Bugha and Threats to start that game in 7th place, I can only hope they inch themselves up the leaderboard to give themselves a fighting chance, but only Zeke and our analysts can let us know.
Stress.
They're doing it
at an all-time high, like Bugha here and Threats. And you know, this is actually a fight I've always wanted to see. I wish under a little bit different circumstances, right? I wanted a straight-up 2v2 Epic Whale and Reed versus Bugha and Threats. This time, though, they will walk away winners. And of course, this was actually the story of our top 5 going down super, super early, Vivid, which just opened up the entire lobby.
Exactly. I mean, it just keeps happening, right? We think that they have the lead secured. If they just get one more good game in, they can kind of smooth sail to the FNCS championship. Then they always seem to slip up, and now we're set up for a phenomenal game number 12 because, like Jacob mentioned, Bugha and Threats, they were in that 7th place position. With many of those teams falling down early this game, they're going to be up their top 3 contention as well.
I really believe that high ground is where they have the most peace and happiness up there. They look great. They're playing great. And I'm assuming they're going to be trying to go for it this last game.
I distinctly remember Jenny saying, I want Bugha and Threats to win. And now here they are. So we have Caster Curse. She has Caster Blessings. But anyway, let's take a look at the standings. Remember, one final game will decide it all. Iamzo and Rise, once again, they step up to Duke and Edgy. And they say, not today. But friends, take a look. It's so only 5 points. Just as NA always does, this will come down to the last game of Grand Finals to determine it all.
Yamzo and Rise, yeah, you're talking about the 5th-place lead that they have over 2nd place. What about the only 19-point lead that they have over 5th place? It really is anybody's game. Yamzo and Rise, though, big opportunity from them this game. They were in 3rd place coming into this. They were definitely around like 30 points behind. Took full advantage of the fact that we saw Duke and Edgy go down early. Picked up the eliminations, clutched it up. Shout out to them for giving us a solid game number 11. So that way we have a close game number 12.
They were solid with the loot path. They were solid with, all legendary weapons. They were looking real fresh, real nice, very clean.
And they've hit it, Zeke. The big 5-0. 50 eliminations throughout this grand finals.
This is why we've known Yamzo and Rise as slayers of NA. That 50 is a statement in itself. As we kind of continue to look down, Duke and Edgy, remember they were kind of in this shambles position here toward like the halfway point of the game. Something misfired in this game.
Yeah, listen, Diego Plays is back to contesting Duke and Edgy, and that's helped them out so much. But this game, you would be like, oh, they're going to be chilling on Storm Surge because they get those early fights, those early eliminations. But no, it was Storm Surge that ultimately ended up taking them down this game. So maybe they were a little too confident when it came to thinking about how much damage they had done.
Yeah, and sometimes in those situations, you're going to move in and try to take risky plays. And most of the time, it doesn't really work out in your favor. You have to. Because of that Storm Surge damage, you're going to go out anyway. It didn't work out in that case, but, I really think that in some of the cases it will, and it was a good play.
I have to highlight Pamstu and Fatch here in your 4th place.
Oh my.
Pamstu just putting on the solo clutch of his career right here, right now, saying, look, we want one of those 3 spots to global championships, and if I have to do it myself, I will.
I'm so happy you brought that up, Zeke. Top 3 as we go into game number 12. Nobody knows who's going to finish where. Top 5 is so close, but only 3 spots for these teams are available when it comes to that global championship qualification. And Pamsto, yeah, like you mentioned, that solo clutch, keeping it in for them. 490 points now for this duo after game number 11.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier, but Pamsto and Fatch, they were not always had the kinetic blade in their hand. Now Pamsto did, so that definitely worked for their favor. Him having that, he was able to get out of sticky situations and put himself in a good position to last long throughout endgame.
Yeah, I just love Pamstu and Fatch. I think they're just one of the best in NA. And to see them qualify, I know it would mean the world to them. But again, we're only looking at this top 3 spot. What terrifies me right now is the fact that after that game, Bugha and Threats have now said, okay, look, we can actually fight for those top 3 spots. And if I was to even go down, right, Pollo and Sphinx here in 6th place, it is a 50-point difference, give or take. But if those top 5 go down early, or make the same mistakes like we've seen these past couple of games, even someone like them could just say, hey, opportunity right here on my doorstep. Let's go take it.
Yeah, top 7 is where I'm looking at, right? Like 453 points. That jump to 8th place after that. I think that one's a little too steep for any of those teams to kind of bump up into the top 3, but we got to keep a close eye on pretty much every single team that's top 7 going into this last game to figure out who's going to win and who's going to go to globals.
I think that's so exciting because I know all of the pressure that has to be on these teams, but they have to really focus on themselves. Yes, all the top teams, going down early, maybe some mistakes being made, they don't need to be even on the lookout for that. They need to just focus on how they can play best, and that will hopefully solidify a spot for them in the top 3.
And we've seen historically, this is actually what results in teams doing best, right? Just saying whatever has happened up to this point, it does not matter. This is the game we're going to make it all count. Now, again, if we would just even look at that top 7, there's only 3 spots and there will only be 1 winner. And as much as I'd love everybody to win, everybody can't. There's only those 3 spots. Who are we hoping will take it this last game?
Dukes and Edgy, they've been in first place so many times. I think they got it. I'm going to throw it to Cooper and Miro, and I got Bugha and Threats also. That's going to be our top 3.
Dude, I already told y'all. You said it. I want Threats to have an FNCS championship. I really want to see Bugha and Threats take 2nd one in a row today.
Then there's Yams and Rise. I don't know.
Again, there's just so many names. But this is it. It all comes down to a single game in North America. This will determine it all for Major number 2. Winners and who will go in those top 3 spots. Brace for chaos. This is the last game of the North America FNCS Grand Finals.
Like Zeke just said, this is the final chance for anybody to take that crown. And we have 5 different teams that have a huge shot to take it overall.
That is right. I heard the competition. I heard, of course, our talent talking about who they have eyes on. I'm going for Fatch and Pamster right now. The French Canadians. Let's see what they can do, of course. But at the end of the day, it is a great time to be a part of North America's competition. It is so close. A daring finish amongst our top 5. I mean, at the end of listen, they haven't even dropped any rounds. Like, everyone's been playing so well. It's all going to come down to this. And of course, Duke and Edgy are contested.
Oh, this is almost could have been it if they did lose this one, but they win it in the blink of an eye. If everybody's getting their picks, you heard Jenny saying Booga and Threat, you heard Vivid's opinion, even yours. I'm voting for Duke and Edgy. Edgy on the West and the East region, second place. Second place can make somebody go mad. I think this is his time to shine.
That is true. Rise and Eonzo, however, do want to see if they can wield that Axe of Champions this season, too. You can see Rise pretty much holding a replica look-alike one just to feel good, just in case. Already preparing himself mentally. He's already the winner. As we jump on over to Acorn and Cold, 2 of which who've actually wielded this Axe of Champions in the past. It's just so close. I don't even want to call them first, second, third, fourth, or fifth, honestly. Yeah, they're all right about time.
Yeah, it's going to definitely be harder for both Poyo and Sphinx, and obviously Acorn and Cold. 50 points is a huge gap to overcome. Might be hoping for the downfall of a lot of these teams to kind of open that window of opportunity up, as Pamso and Fatch have been playing such a solid game so far. And we keep talking about winning it all, but even that top 3 is so close. Top 3 isn't winning itself. It's a trip to that global championship to fight for over $4 million in prize money. That even sounds just crazy. $4 million these people are going to fight for.
Every season, every chapter, life-changing money is put on the line for all of the regions. But there's something just different about international competition, the global stage, which once again, you can attend as tickets are going live, up for sale tomorrow, May 15th. Mark your calendars. By the time the sun rises in North America, the signups will be completely open. You can buy floor tickets, arena seats, all on the side. You take your pick.
In this final game, we're really going to take a close look of a lot of our contenders, Cooper and Miro being one of them. North side of Slappy Shores, quickly trying to loot up before they go on their merry way. This is one of the teams that like to consolidate a lot of those heals. That way, if the zone does pull towards their side, they can try to trade for a surge, heal on back up, almost like they didn't even get damaged in the first place. And that's why you see them kind of popping it out. Added on top of that, this is a hot drop, so you're going to have some drones flying around that'll also drop you some heals.
It looks a little different, though. They have the north side of Splashy that's on.
Yeah.
They've been having the south side, so we'll see how that ends up playing out. If Nyx and crew end up pushing in Sphinx and Pollo, they have to make a comeback. They basically had a pretty tough round. They slipped down 2 placement points last game. They didn't quite make that end game. And now they find themselves 40 to 30 points behind the competition. About a full round, a good game can put them up there.
Right, kids, good way to start that one off. They got Scare Bear just kind of trapped.
This is it.
Going back and forth, playing a game of like ping pong inside of the boxes. They don't want to let him escape, though. These are points that they need to make up for that lost time. So that's 4 more added to the total. 4 less. They have to kind of battle everybody else through. Side of Mega City. This is where they usually get their surge a lot of the time.
I wouldn't even be upset if they played a little bit more aggressive this game, just so that they can guarantee a top 3. They will really have to do it. When you're 30 points behind the next big placement jump, you have to do something spectacular, not just outperform them with eliminations. You have to outplace them as well. It's not an easy ask. Rise and Eonzo right outside the Splashy. You can see that they have the high ground position as well. They want to build the big box. They want to look around and see what they can do for damage in general. And Pamsto Thatch, much different conversation. They've got a very pleasant Frenzy Fields here. Their strategy has been play dynamic, rotate to different spots, take advantage of teams on the move.
Right now, you can kind of see a team, at least a player, slowly but surely sneaking up right next to them. Have to be careful, because if they're the ones that get caught off guard, there goes their FNCS championship right out the window. And as they currently sit in 4th place, that would take away their hope of going to that global championship. As Booga and Threats, currently they sit outside of that top 3 as well. In 5th place, 484 points to start the day. Only 19 away from that top 3 spot. Definitely doable for them.
Wait a second. Threats knocked Boyo in the feed. That's a huge, huge knock right there. Take a look. Threats is right here. Cold and Acorn are also in a fight. What is happening right now? Everyone putting it on the line here. Cold Acorn up against Lizux, but a third party's looking in from the outside. Remember, this is right outside the mega city. Threats is nearby. There's a lot of competition here. Competition that truly matters to our top 5. Keep that in mind as you weigh the significance of these fights.
This is huge. You kind of saw it as soon as he went down. Everybody kind of beelined their way on over. You see Larson sneaking up. Boyo. This is huge because everybody was kind of beelining to try to go for the knock. They end up fighting each other, which is a huge distraction for them to get the revive and keep their game intact. No room for any mistakes.
Well, this is what we just talked about, right? Will Boyo and Sphinx play for it all? They literally tried to, and look, it came back to bite them. They were punished as they stepped to the likes of Cold, Acorn, and Threats. Little did they know the champion caliber of teams that were waiting nearby. No pushover teams. These guys are going to hit their shots, and they did just that. Collectively, of course, working together here. The trades right now. Threats gets punished, but so does Cold. Lizux off to the right here.
I think it's funny because as soon as Poyo and Sphinx got back on up, they're like, hey, maybe let's not try that. They went back on over to Mega City. I expect them to have some sort of skyscraper built in a moment to try to take advantage of all those players that are rotating near their spot. When it comes to Storm Surge, it is going to be a must. So many teams, even ones you wouldn't expect, have suffered to it at least one time on the weekend. Except for maybe Pamsu and Fatch. Because that dynamic play that you're talking about over towards Frenzy Fields, they can go east, west, south, or north to try to pick up Surge, sneak up on a team. And they're at the edge of the zone as well. Sphinx continues his rotation. Doesn't want to get stuck. He's trying to find the next highest elevation that he can work with that is outside of Mega City. That way you can do exactly that again. You build your tower, and then you just terrorize people with the red eye.
He gets there before anyone else.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh. Tries to wait, and Cole just rips him apart. Ooh. And another team is out there looking inwards as well. You have to assume that's Acorn, who's got Sphinx in his line of sights. Look at Sphinx looking around like, hello? Where did that come from? No idea. You know he's not going to peek it again. There's a big pot down here. That's good for him. There it is. Pre-builds. Gets to the rest of the loot here. It's secured. This is their spot to do with. And already Acorn, Cold still in the mix, though. They have a team right on top of them. Remember, that was Lizux. Have they not moved yet? Oh, it's Bully still there. Yup.
Oh, Cold gets tagged up, trying to get on over to Acorn. If they get in the same box, they were separated for just a little bit. Bully and Krizix weren't able to really take advantage, which kind of helps Poyo and Sphinx yet again, because now they're able to rotate a little bit to safety. Buka and Threats is that team that you see on the southern portion of the map, trying to go to the slow side of the zone, as it does pull towards the north. As Acorn and Cold looking for information, and without the kinetic blades, it's not going to be easy for them to try to disengage.
Although Cold and Acorn didn't get an elim, neither did Lizux and Bully there. If you go back and just watch that fight, slow it down, there was so much high-tier duo play in action there. But from the pinches of Lizux and Bully to the defensive plays of Acorn, my gosh, I'm such a Fortnite fan. That was crazy. It didn't even end, and I'm just like, oh, wow. Like, I'm blown away. The level, the caliber of competition right now is just insane. But okay, let's get back into things. It's game 12. We still don't know who's going to win this all here.
Ooh, I love that. I love doing this. Use the kinetic rock, get some high elevation, and then from there, you can use the kinetic blade to get even farther and optimize your usage, especially if you have a rare kinetic blade where there is only 2 charges. as Edgy sets himself up. May not be in zone, but it's right next to it. It's where he's trying to look at anybody that's on the southwest part of the map from Shattered Slabs all the way even more south to try to figure out, I gotta get more Surge. Even though they did win off spawn, we talked about it. That's only a max of 200 Surge because it's only HP that you're taking off.
That's right. Cooper and Mira on the other side being splashy on up to the Bastion now. You can see they're trying to situate themselves here. They've cost themselves a lot of material on the rotate. They want to start bouncing right back into the game, make sure they're fully healthy. They're starting to mix things up. Cold and Acorn still have problems, but this time it's with Rapid and Jess, the kings of the Vault here right now. They were thinking they were going to sit around. Cold and Acorn come through, clean things up, and keep their tournament run alive. All for that Vault loot, just to see what is here.
That's big because that's not only are they able to scrape together all that loot, just like Jeff and Rapid were trying to do, that's 8 points closer to closing that gap and trying to reclaim that top spot. We talked about it. Much harder than some of the other teams that are in the top 5 to take it overall. But if you are going to give yourself a fighting chance, you got to do just that. Fight for every single point that is here in this lobby.
They have nothing to lose.
Nothing at all.
They're really the only duo with that gap right inside the top 7 that had absolutely nothing to lose. Everything they gain here. I would not be surprised they continue to push teams just like that and really play for first. That's what you have to do.
Slower you go, the harder it's going to be. But for Cooper and Miro, they're hoping everybody in front of them already rotated. So the chances of them really being gatekeep slim to hopefully none as Fuga and Threats continue to rotate to the slow side of the zone, something they've been doing all weekend long, and it's working more times than not. As you see, every single time, they're just trying to get their resources, farm up. Wood is going to be the easiest thing to find here. When it comes to those hard mats, they need to figure out where they're going to get it from.
This is a tough game for them. The fact that they are this late into the fourth zone and only 55 builds on Threats makes you wonder what happened after they rotated away from Acorn and Cold. Batch and Pam still as well, sitting inside the zone right now, playing late for the heals. Nearing that cap material count. Not a great shotgun in hand, but everything else seems to be going in their favor. Comes the big move. But yeah, Landrock is still watching here. Little blind fire to see if he was going to hit something. Nothing quite connects on those blind players, but gotta respect the attempt. Batch is really, really starting to eat deep into the HPs. They're just trying to find anything now. This is an act of desperation into the Shattered Slabs right now.
Typically, there is loot left by in the vault if nobody else scavenged it already. They're just hoping that there's at least a morsel of a med mist, a med kit, even bandages would help them at this stage in the game as Acorn and Cold just trying to use the static launch pads to get from point A to point B. Last we saw Acorn, he didn't have any mobility on him. Luckily for Cold, he does have the kinetic blade with 3 charges, just in case things do get rough. But they did find themselves a nice little house and crevice inside of the zone as they continue to look around. Nobody in this lobby should feel any bit of safety or comfortability when it comes to that Storm Surge. It's doing even the best of the teams in and pressuring them to find some shots.
Acorn peeking through the attic, nothing quite here. And again, the standings, the update, all 5 teams in the top 5 are still alive. As it stands right now, we have no idea who is going to be the next FNCS champion or who will be our top 3 to get a ticket to the Global Championships, which you can attend in October. This is going to be the best, honestly, the best time to be crowned a North American king, if you will. The crowning champion. As we've had this full merger, NA West, NA East coming together. The competition has never been tougher.
That's one thing I feel like I haven't even talked about enough. The unified regions being that first undisputed champion of North America. A ton of bragging rights, something that you can hold on to for the next couple months before FNCS Major 3. Duke and Edgy rotating. They're trying to hold on to their first place spot. Start the game, it was Yamzo and Rise. With those two eliminations, the Edgy and Duke, they took it right back. But it's only that much of a gap because Yamzo and Rise even have an elimination. And that just goes to show how close this game actually is. It's either elimination, placement points, every single one of those matter.
And of all the zones we've had on this day 2, this is the first in quite some time, it feels like, that we're not going to have all this water involved. It's going directly on up to some solid land and ground. On average, 82 points have separated first and second in the other regions, and just 22 points are separating first through fifth here in NA. This is now, once again, in good NA fashion, another close FNCS. I don't know if I'm a lucky charm or something, but I've been on a streak the last 3 or 4 NA championships, FNCSs I've been a part of have been extremely good. And I'm in for a treat here with you, Jacob. This is crazy.
I mean, I definitely feel like you're my lucky charm.
I'll take it.
You know, I know me and Levin have a lot of fun throughout the course of the weeks. Boricua brothers here. We just, you know, on a different level. But I love seeing Levin and Shy over on the other side of things. EU as Cooper and Miro. It may not be them who's down on Surge, but so many other teams in the lobby might be suffering to that. As Bucky and Okus inch themselves closer and closer. Shots coming in from the third party. Cooper's shields get drained. They become the focus of the lobby. 48 HP, getting pushed back into the zone as well. So even though he's shielding himself very nicely, he's still taking some damage, forced to reposition. Luckily for him, Miro built themselves a little box of metal that they can work with to try to shield and use those splashes to get themselves back on up. And as the shots have slowed down, I think they've escaped tragedy at least once so far, and even found a gift on a death on the other side. And like I said, more times than not, they do have that vault loot, so that's a huge find if they do.
You know, Death's super upset. I saw him actually tweeting like, just give me a pulse rifle, I'll show you what I can do. But Rift Island's not on his side right now, and that's it. His championship run is over. His FNCS finals is done, but Tahi has a chance now to fight back. It's a tough ask, though. Miro and Cooper are, of course, on fire right now. Big shots come in, though, onto Miro and Cooper there. Luckily, the damage was split between the two and not absorbed by just one. It couldn't have worked out better for them as they have a chance to still bounce back here. But that was a close one.
Yeah, I was feeling like Cooper there for a second was just a magnet taking shots. Even though he has good mobility, he's trying to stay ahead of the game. They still have a far rotation. The zone, in theory, is going to move slower as they push towards that right side of the map. Good shot is going to be fired, but ends up in a fight again against Okus. Him and Bucky are just hot on their heels. Everybody here at this portion of the map is going to have to fight through one another onto that congested side of the zone. For Miro and Cooper, they do have the fact that they don't have to fight for Surge. It's just something that they're gaining along the way because people want to fight them.
It's true. Miro has the big heals, though. There it is. He drops legendary Slurp Juice, and now they're one of the last to make this rotate. You can see teams like Bucky already on the move, but others are looking inwards. Those situated few that have these high ground spots. Miro goes on up, waiting for the charge to come in. Finally, it does. And now in he goes. He finds Larson there. Doesn't quite find a tag, but this might be the force of a lobby focus if I've ever seen one. He's in a tunnel on the low ground with many, many teams in front of him. But it seems like things settled down for a second. Jack and Quad looked past them, potentially to the other teams that were just nearby.
Great
That
position.
Japan barely made it in. They were so far out. What happened? Surge.
Yep. You're kind of seeing it because, like you said, they were so far out. They weren't really able to focus on getting a ton of that surge. They were just able to get enough to barely be enough above that threshold. Trying to find more. They see Kanata and Agers distracted, trying to get their own surge, trying to drop them down into the palm of their hands. Because if you look at their HP, if you look at their shields, they really have no other choice but to try to get a refresh. And as soon as they fall below that damage threshold, that is going to be them in panic mode.
This is going to be the most important time to focus on our top 5. Placement points are just moments away, but this is the most difficult part of any Fortnite game, making it right past these big moving zones here. All of our top 5 is still alive. Anyone can be your champion, especially those that you see right there listed off to the side.
3 points separating first and second, 2 points separating second and third. This is one of the closest FNCSs I've personally been a part of myself. I know you talked about a few yourself, and this is just a treat. Especially really not knowing who's going to win or who has the best chance at the end of the day. As Yamso, Rise, they're just looking off into the distance. You can see instead of getting the red eye, he pulls out that mythical tactical pistol rather early on, just in case they end up in a CQC battle against one another. They can put out so much DPS in the blink of an eye.
Bugha threats, putting players into their lines of sights right now, trying to force the lobby onto them. And it does seem to work. This is Commandment. This is Macwood, who had the luck of the draw on the zones here, hence why they're still alive. Bugha comes in with the splash here to top off his teammate, just making sure everything is good right now. But we have ourselves a big update here. It looks like on the other side of things, Pamstel and Thatch have troubles as Pamstel finds himself out in the open, no builds, and they fall. And just like that, my favorites, the French Canadians, our 4th place team is down and out. We now have 4 other duos to focus in on, including Cold and Acorn, who need to continue to rack up. They have some of the more eliminations that we've seen so far. Miro finds Jack there in the feed. Big one for him.
And that's 4 more points. They were just down 2, so as soon as that elimination does get cleaned up, they'll bump themselves into 2nd place. That's how close the game is. Bugha getting elimination as well. And with Pamstu and Fatch down in 4th place, their shot at the FNCS Global Championship for this major is out the window, and Bugha and Threat's chance to get in just upped.
Oh, Cooper's by himself now. Miro's down. He gets fully finished. Cooper has a flare gun. Still has, of course, a kinetic blade to work with, but the match is starting to run thin. It's not looking too hot right now, as you still have Iamzo and Rise up, Dukes and Edgy. Let's take a look right back at it really quickly. How did it go down? Bugha looks in onto Macwood and Commandment. That's how he finds his points. And then, of course, in between all of that, we did have another one fall. Acorn finds on one. Bugha and Threats are looking solid right now. They finally have an elimination on the board. Can't add 2nd.
The mats are what worry me right now, but Thoric, hopefully he has more than just Siphon, as he ends up being a 3rd party stuck. The focus of the lobby. This is not the best place to be for Thoric, but on the other side, Bugha and Threads, this is exactly the position you want to be in, with a player living on a prayer trying to stay alive. But Iamzo and Rise, they're under pressure themselves. Another one of our contenders here in the lobby, getting forced back. Zone now pushing in. Iamzo has no more of the 8.
Oh my gosh,
he cannot waste any time, but down goes Rise. We lost Miro, we lost Rise. A lot of our top teams fighting for that top spot are now solos.
Rise falls to the hands of Cooper.
Wow.
Cooper took him down. Iamzo barely slips out of there, and all of a sudden, the top players, our real potential champions, are exchanging blows with one another. I mean, it's only a matter of time. It's starting to constrict and close the zone here for Cooper. He's got 2 Elins. Miro's got 1. That's a lot of points, but that's not enough to close this gap. They have to continue to earn more. He's gonna slip by. Still has a lot of mats here. He's got plenty to work with. Edgy and Duke are looking healthy. They have, of course, Elins and heals too. This could be their chance to walk away with it.
Yep. This is gonna be coming down to, honestly, if everybody stays alive, it's literally gonna come down to final placement and the eliminations that you've been able to get. You said Threats out. Yamzo, I think he fell as well. I don't see him here on the map as Cooper staying alive here as a solo. This race has gotten that much more close between our top teams.
Let's see it. Edgy, Duke, try to play for hype, but no. Instead, play for a positioning here. They couldn't quite get there, and they have to think again. They are the best boys team. Bucky finds Threats. It's up to Bugha. Bugha's by himself. Bugha's trying to play for the pickup right now. Can he stick the save potentially? Acorn and Cold are in trouble to the box next door. It looks like the save might just be successful. Cold is still in this. Threats is still in this. He gets picked up. Bugha with the save. That could be everything for this potential dub here.
If you're a fan of Bugha and Threads, I don't think you have scripted a better ending than this one.
My God.
As Cooper is just landing shot after shot, just trying to take down as much shields as humanly possible. But he now has to rotate to the front side of zone, but he does not have material. He needs a refresh if he wants to try to keep his game intact. A monster shot on the Bugha. This is it. And it all comes down to this. Bugha goes down, and he doesn't get knocked, which means we lost Threats as well.
And look at that. He might just land up for high ground. Duke and Edgy are still in this, but the points are just so close. It will come down to placement. Can Coop truly do this by himself? He goes on up to high ground, gets tagged from behind. line, slips down, but seeing the builds there, no. He's now officially down and out. He only has a single build. Make that 0. Cole's still alive here, fighting back for more placement points.
That was Duke.
Up. Dukes is down, and now Cooper has a chance. Every team that falls gives Coop more and more points to potentially be the FNCS champion, but Edgy's still here as well.
There's so many of these players are solos. Edgy, solo, Cold, solo, and he finds it. Oh, it's Edgy who takes him out. He takes out Cooper, one of the big competitors in his way, but Pollo's still staying alive. He has a chance, especially with a lot of our teams going down. He finds a monster shot onto Edgy. These are 2 of our contenders. TK on the other side. Edgy forced down low to the low ground. He has no mats.
Pollo took down Edgy as well. But hold on, Edgy's singling around. He finds a huge tag and puts another player down. Top 5 he goes. Tries to follow up with the shield bubble. Absorbs 2. Literally saving that opponent. And just points slip away there. Clarity G falls. And just like that, Edgy now is one of the last standing competitors here. He's going to go for the breakthrough. He doesn't even want Hype to have it for free. He's going to break him down into the box. He needs the siphon, and he gets ticked out. It is so close. Boyo is still alive. And he gets the Elim credit in the end there. It is extremely close here.
What? Peterbot gets a knock onto Aviv. He could clutch it up. He's probably one of the better mechanical skilled fighters on this lobby right now. And he has a 1v1 against Skittles, who just has a sliver of HP. And Peterbot does the impossible and clutches up big.
Winning the final game, Peterbot and Quanti managed to find a sliver of opportunity, and then they take advantage of it. The best part about that is that game could have been big enough for Peterbot and Quanti to get closer and closer to a potential top 10 or 5 or so. Remember, money is still on the line. Global championships for top 3 is still on the line. You have to perform, and Peterbot does just that.
I cannot believe what we witnessed in this final game. If it wasn't our top teams going down, it was them being stuck as solos, and then on top of that, they were fighting each other. I feel like I was watching Fortnite the movie.
At this point, it really was anyone's opportunity to take it away. We had so many teams that we needed to stay alive going head-to-head. All I know for sure is that Pamson Fats fell first, and all of a sudden, we had 4 teams in the running, 8 players in this crazy race there, Jacob.
Yeah, you talk about 8th place, the 8 players. Aviv and Skittles started that game in 8th place. They got second. Quanti and Peterbot started outside of that one as well. So even though some of these players don't have a chance to take that first place spot, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars still up for grabs. But let's go ahead and throw it on over to Zeke and our analyst to let us know who won FNCS Major 2.
Jacob was so right. This was Fortnite the movie again. My oh my, it was a AAA movie at that. $1 million V-Buck film right here. It all happened, and as they stated, it was the top 5 of literally the entire space of the zones. They could not be the farthest apart. They just said, hey, you know what? You're right there. Hello. Boop, boop. Like, absolutely insane. Every single shot, these duos were trading back and forth. Every single kinetic blade charge expended. Every other top 5 member was saying, you're moving, we are too. We want this. We will claw at this to the very end.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we got to game 12. All of our top 5 teams were live. 8th zone. They were all looking healthy. Their storm surge values were looking good. And when those moving zones started to kick off, it was like they knew who each other were on the battlefield. They just kept trading shots.
I know.
Oh my God, like Zeke mentioned, a movie.
I know, and I love that we were standing on stage like, oh my gosh, what's happening next? It really was so cool to see like our top 5 teams competing at the end. So I really loved that we got that, like that suspense built. Even towards the end, I'm just like, I don't know what's gonna happen, Zeke.
I think the most impressive of the top 5 to me was Cooper. Being put in basically an impossible situation, left alone, in arguably shambles position with less than 50 effective HP on green, and just saying, I'll fight. Why not? What do I have to lose? I'm fighting for a championship. I'm fighting for a top 3 spot. It's all or nothing.
Booga left the solo clutch. Cooper left the solo clutch. Yams and Rise went down a little early. Of course, Edgy and Duke were the ones that made it the furthest in the end game. I think they might have the advantage there. We'll have to see how it all breaks down.
Well, It is that time. We will find out together the winners of Major 2 here in North America. FNCS Grand Finals. Your winners are Duke and Edgy. And finally, today, history is made for 2 reasons. One, Edgy finally gets that Axe of Champions. He will finally have that moment. Duke at his side. But, friends, this is also the first time in FNCS history that a duo going into day 2 in first place has gone on to win the Grand Finals. Not just NA, but all 6 regions.
Yeah, incredible stuff. I mean, what a run from Duke and Edgy. You know, they of course came into day number 2 in first place. That was only by 1 point. You know, they started off a little slow. There were a lot of changes at the top of the leaderboard. But when it comes down to it, when it comes down to game number 12, even though the leaderboard was still so close at the end of the day, they clutched up. And shout out to Dignitas joining the Fortnite scene, getting their first FNCS Major Championship win. Of course, that same sentiment for Edgy as well, that honorary Dig member there.
Yeah. Congratulations to you guys. I'm very impressed by the skill that y'all have portrayed in these games. And I love that we talked about some teams can be day 1 teams, some teams can be day 2. They are both days. They are just true champions, and they really showed out.
Yeah, to me, man, once again, in case you didn't know, Edgy's always been that guy who's come so close. So many seconds places in a row, back-to-back seasons in a row, has been looking for that Axe of Champions. And today, it is his. But don't forget, we're looking for the top 3. Remember, we're taking a look at who will be representing NA in the FNCS Global Championship later this year. Let's take a look together. Off of that game, Cooper and the solo performance coming in so strong says, you know what, Miro, let's go to Globals, baby. Just watch me.
Hey, listen, shout out to Cooper. Shout out to Miro. We saw some incredible solo clutches out of that duo today alone, making sure that they made their run towards Globals. And then Pollo and Sphinx finding themselves in 3rd place as well. You know, the big question mark was who was going to be in top 3. They've snuck in.
I really think it's so cool how we really didn't know. There's some of these other regions where it's just like, okay, yeah, like there's some definite dominant teams, but it was all over the place. It was jumping around, and it really shows just the strengths that these teams have to push on to the top, and they are going to be having that place at Globals. I'm so excited to see how they perform there.
See, look at 4th, 5th, and 6th. Like, 519, 518, 56. That's how close this competition was. And it's literally the difference, thousands of dollars.
And to think, we watched that battle unfold before our very eyes to see Jacob PR and MDF just masterfully call every single interaction. It was easy to follow. It was fluid. And these teams, they fought tooth and nail to the very end. But it is your top 3 that will go into Globals. And, of course, Duke and Edgy, who are your FNCS champions in North America. However, let's not forget, there's 6 regions. So why don't we go and head on over to our casters to check in with the other winners of the FNCS.
Thank you so very much, Zeke. Yeah, we have a lot to catch up with. The FNCS is now officially concluded, and we have all of our champions to congratulate. If you tuned in at the start of the day, you saw Europe, Queasy, and Vino dominate the performance, of course. And Jacob, we had the pleasure of casting North America.
Yeah, Duke and Edgy take that top spot. Brazil, they mimicked what Queasy and Vivo, 6 VRs throughout 2 days. King and Phaser Kame just proving they're one of the best.
Absolutely. Then we jump on over to Asia, where, of course, Team Alba, they're always putting up great performances. Awesome signed players. Yuma and Jaemon Kun come out and do their thing. They come on the top. Oceania, of course, pops up. You have Suns, Thug, and Anon KTN doing.
And that's a back-to-back for them, which means somebody else earned a spot to that global championship. But give it one last time for Cal Gamer and 7-man 1X from the Middle East region, taking that top spot. A huge amount of effort went into all these competitors throughout these 2 days. They have definitely earned that Axe of Champions.
Cool part about this is, of course, if you are a champion, you're going to the Global Championship. Of course, tomorrow's going to be a big day. Ticket sales are going live. You can pick it up We'll be seeing these players in Copenhagen for these international head-to-head competitions that are going to take place. It's only going to get better.
Yeah, it's only going to get better because we still have another FNCS Major 3 as well, where more teams will earn their shot for that global championship. But I think Brazil and Europe are huge props for what they've been able to do throughout the games. But I'm going to go ahead and toss it back on over to Zeke to let us know who else will we be seeing.
Thank you guys so much. As these gentlemen did allude to, we have global championships happening later on this year. Why don't we take a look at who is qualified through from Major number 2? We have an amazing breakdown here. And what I love is that we can also compare this to Major number 1. Remember, spots will continue to open up as we draw closer and closer to globals. But now in Major number 2, take a look at just this list of duos we'll be seeing at the global championships. As a representation from every single region, we have some serious powerhouses.
I mean, there are a lot of teams. We saw some great performances out of a lot of these teams. Shout out Malibuca and Thomas, showing what they're capable of, even when contested. Of course, you know, we have the NA teams, Acorn and Cold, that will be going there. Thork and Bolts as well. Some teams clutching up today. I mean, Cooper and Mira. We got Seti and Cammy, FNCS Invitational winners returning to the international stage. I can't wait, and we've only been through Major number 2. We still have Major number 3 global qualifications available as well.
Oh my gosh, Vivid. Literally, I'm looking at this, and I'm just blown away by the skill that we've seen in the past games, but on this board, I'm like, to watch them play all together at Globals is going to be absolutely mind-blowing. I cannot wait.
And you just think, again, like, these guys are not only putting up these numbers, locking in their spots, but as Vivid's kind of talked about, there's a whole other major. We will continue to put names on that board. While these guys, they get to come into Major number 3 and say, hey, we've already qualified. Now we can stand in your way. We can dictate what you are allowed to do. We can land on your spot and say, in Globals, that's our spot.
Yeah.
That is what I'm most excited to see going into Major 3.
We talk about it all the time, right? The meta within the meta, these lobbies, these formulaic games that happen over the course of 2 days, 12 games. There's so much to unfold, and we saw some strategies unfold here today on NA. Of course, EU was a stomp house over there. We'll see Queasy and Vino look to kind of, you know, get revenge when it comes to that international stage. Fortnite's so fun.
It's so fun. And we've talked about this before, too, but when there are certain duos in the lobby that you know are very, you know, they kind of claim height or they're more dominant in these positions, you have to take that into effect on, like, the way that you're going to play these games out. So there'll be times that we'll look into these games and we'll say, okay, you know, we got this crazy duo that's a height team. Maybe I'm going to have to learn how to play low ground, so they're going to have to adjust and adapt to those different play styles.
For me, the question has to be, are we there yet? Can we step up to Europe? I think today, Major 2 is a good step in the right direction, but I think we still have work to do.
Zeke loves this question so much. I love Zeke so much, right? Because he's like, you know, he's such a little NA fanboy. He's like, yes, you know, let's catch up to EU. Zeke, let's be honest, like EU, they've got some really big powerhouses over there. It's going to be tough.
I will say, though, but I really love seeing the names that maybe we haven't heard as much really just put their names on the board and saying, look, hey, like, we're here too. You know, and we've talked about this so much, but anything really can happen. Going into these globals, we're having a lot of different skill combined. And I think, too, again, like we've talked about top of show, we've said, these are the names that we think. And then we had our winner be not even someone we talked about, which is so crazy. Like, it's so crazy that anything can happen. And I love that about these duos. And I love seeing new names come into the Fortnite space.
Yeah, did you guys have maybe like a favorite moment from the day that you thought like, yeah, this is us, this is North America?
You know, I think Cooper and Miro, I'm happy to see Miro kind of back in that top 3. You know, he's had such a dominant career. He was going to retire this season. It's back to top 3 of an FNCS. How do you do that in the same season?
Absolutely. Well, friends, we have something very special lined up for you right now. It is an interview with none other than one of the winners. It is Edgy. Edgy, first off, man, I just have to say a huge congratulations. You've worked so long, so hard for this moment. What does it feel like to finally say, the Axe of Champions, it's mine?
Words don't even, like, I can't even talk right now. Like, I'm literally at a loss for words. I don't even know. I was literally shaking like the whole time. Like I don't even know. Like There's literally nothing. Back out. I bet.
Bro, you've poured so much into this. For you guys coming into major number 2, what was the prep? You know, what was the one thing you guys were coming in and saying, this is it. This will be that thing that will take us to the top?
I mean, we have a coach, Buzz, and we've literally played every scrim session, every type of practice. We've prepped for everything. Literally, we didn't even have nerves going into this tournament. We had every single like solution to any problem just figured out. We got surprise con and we're just ready for it, and we just put in more time than anyone else, and I feel like that just shows.
Well, go ahead. Yeah. I really want to know. I don't know about you. I really want to know what the key to that consistency was. We've seen the consistency yesterday, today. What was it? What do you think personally was it that kept y'all at the top?
I mean, we just land on a meta spot. We have katanas surge off spawn from like 50-50ing a spot, and then just all the prep we did, we knew exactly what to do at every single zone. You know, like cash spawns around us. We just know everything. We did enough prep, so we're not surprised by any situation.
Love it.
Nice.
Love it.
And one thing that I want to hone on, all right, you said you came into the competition, you guys weren't nervous at all, but then you mentioned that you guys were shaking. When did that shaking start to happen? Was it just game 12, game 11? When did that start to take place?
I think in the middle of the games, it's just there's no shaking. You just have to focus on like one thing at a time. The worst had been going to game 12 and everyone, there's like top 5, and it was like a 15-point difference between everyone, and luckily we were able to close it out.
Edgy, I mean, I just want to give you just the biggest congrats. Not only will you hold the Axe of Champions high, but dude, you've qualified to globals. You did 2 things. You've made history in 2 different ways today. For you moving forward, what are you looking forward to at globals? What are you guys hoping to kind of fix or just kind of refine so that when you guys hit that stage, you can say, EU, not now?
Obviously EU is just more ahead of us, maybe trying to like play some of their scrims, talking to some of their players, get insight on like how they think, how they work, just doing anything to kind of get ahead of NA right now, just because NA right now is behind EU skill wise. And actually the last few games we had easy coaching, which helped a lot. Like he's so smart.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, Edgy, congratulations to you, to Duke. For the fans out there, if for some reason they don't know your name, they know it now, where can they find you?
Twitter.com/edgy with 2 Ys, twitch.tv/edgy with 2 Ys, and yeah, that's about it.
Man, well, again, just a big congratulations, dude. I'm so happy to see you win this. You put in so much work, and on this day it pays off. Congratulations. Thanks for your time, man, and we'll see you very, very soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Man, oh man. Edgy, just one of the best. He's finally done it. That's what the FNCS is all about. And as we continue to talk about globals, if you didn't know, well then check this out. This is the Global Championship.
The best players in the world all battling it out.
Insane matches already today.
These are the moments that make these players championship material.
One chance to make it happen, and they take it by force.
It is going to be absolutely insane. That's right. Tickets are on sale May 15th, first thing in the morning, 4 a.m. Eastern. Go get yourself some tickets. We want to see you there. Globals will blow you away. If this and EU was exciting, that will be the very next step and the conclusion to the year, of course. Now, guys, that's it. Major 2 is all done. I know this is the part that I hate the most. But as we kind of wrap things up, I'd love to hear from all of you. Final closing thoughts and maybe what you hope to look forward to in Major number 3.
I mean, for me, it's just coming from, the West region. Poyo has always been a player that had an immense amount of skill. He had 2nd place finishes on the region. He almost was able to go to the FNCS Invitational last season. I think this just goes to show that this is his moment to shine. Even though he didn't win, I think this goes to show the amount of skill a lot of these players possess.
Yeah, truly. A huge congratulations to Sphinx and Poyo. That big shot, finding the big hit onto TK last season. He had 2nd place. Yeah. He was on Team Ignite, switched on over to Fusion, and again, just continues to pick up. So for him to squeeze out that 3rd, I know a young 15-year-old player like him, We saw how Edgy was blown away. And,
Right.
you know, Edgy's a young adult. You have to imagine he is at a loss for words as well. That's what this is all about.
I just feel so privileged to be a part of the NA stream and the team here and working with all of you guys. And I know you love to see these giant stops from EU and Brazil where they get 6 victory royales, but personally, I love when it's so close, you can't tell who has the win until the very final moment. So thank you guys, and thank you to everyone watching, and of course, the incredible 100 players we had today.
I know. Being on the edge of my seat, being not sure of what's happening next was just the most excitement that I've felt, and I cannot wait to see what happens for Major 3.
I'm always game for some fun for tonight. I got all of that today. I got to see record-breaking performances over on EU. I got to see a Game 12 finish over on NA. I'm going to bed happy.
Well, that is it from us here for Major number 2. As much as we hate to say goodbye, the very next time you'll see us is Major number 3. Don't forget, tickets on sale for the Global Championships, May 15th, 4 a.m. Eastern. Don't miss out. Until we see you guys next time, as always, we love you. Keep yourself safe, and we'll see you on that battle bus.
Beep, beep.
This is the Global Championship.
The best players in the world all battling it out.
Insane matches already today.
These are the moments that make these players championship material.
One chance to make it happen, and they take it by force.
It is going to be absolutely insane.